Tim. Can you close? Yeah, Tim's fine. Can you close the door? Yeah, we'll close it behind her.
Really?
No? It's early. Okay. Fashionably late, 5:46. We'll call the public hearing to order. Cover make a please stand for a pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Venus.
Present.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Thornton.
No,
Mr. Urban.
Here.
Mr. Wilovich.
Here.
Ms. Radel.
Here.
10 of 11.
We now have public comment on the proposed ordinance amending the 2023 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County. None of my slips say public hearing. Any members of the public that wish to speak? Check the Zoom. No hands up on the Zoom.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? First public hearing is adjourned. 3 minutes till the next one.
When I first read Vogue in the paper.
We had a week here, so everything was switched over with me tomorrow.
You gotta change your Zoom.
Some stuff still not, that's just too much.
It was hard.
No, just like they.
I got my social security number. It was fairly easy to write that. So like you need two pieces of official name.
I know.
So she's like, you will accept other things. I had to wait until I got mail. Yeah. I was like, I'll let you know what packages. All right, it's 5:50. Okay, it's 5:50. We'll call the second public hearing to order. We already did the pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Venus.
Present.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Thornton. Mr. Urban.
Here.
Mr. Wilovich.
Here.
Ms. Radel.
Here.
10 of 11.
If you turn your mic off in between and you want to turn it back on, just a reminder. Also, okay. Yeah, okay, now the mics are on. Are we unmuted on the Zoom? Okay, we have public comment on the proposed ordinance adopting a parking ordinance in Hanover Township. I have no slips with this public hearing checked. Any members of the public that wish to speak? Anybody on the Zoom?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. The next, the voting session will start at 6:01. You can turn your mics off.
Okay, can you turn them off for me?
All right, it is 6:01. Turn your mics back on, please. Everybody make sure your lights are green. Okay, 6:01, we'll call the meeting to order. We already did the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Venus,
Present.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo,
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley,
Present.
Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Perry,
Here.
Mr. Thornton,
Here.
Mr. Urban,
Here.
Mr. Wilovich,
Here.
Ms. Radel,
Here.
all present.
Attorney Craig Lipsansky, do you want to announce last night's and tonight's executive session?
Yes, so the public is aware, yesterday, Monday, May 8th, council held an executive session for personnel matters. That was from 5 till 5:30 p.m. Tonight, before the start of the public hearings, council held another executive session from 5 p.m. until approximately 5:37 p.m. Regarding personnel collective bargaining agreement negotiations.
Thank you. Any deletions?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, opposed? The agenda is adopted. We now have public comment on voting session agenda items only. First one here is Thomas Dombrowski.
As to the possible county manager appointment tonight, I don't think it's ever been brought out in the open that Tony Reba, who was awarded $80,000 from the ARP funds for his auto sales business in Hazleton, is residing in the same household as today's
That's
candidate.
totally false. Wrong. Tony Reba.
Yeah, but let him talk.
Members of the public, please be respectful. Who's at the podium is speaking. They get 3 minutes.
Well, I have evidence that it was true and since 2010. And if she's there sort of coming and going and living somewhere else too, that's something I wouldn't be aware of, but Mr. Reba may. But the end result of this fact is that I have very strong evidence that she does in fact live there. And if that's the case, whether it's part-time or not, there's at least a conflict of interest as to any discussions they may have had under that roof that they share at least part-time. And that was not disclosed to anybody and most likely should have been. Mr. Reeve has an opinion and may be factual. and
Please
may
address
not.
county council, not members of the public.
All right, so that individual over there may have an opinion and it may be true and it may be false. But the end result of it is, I have no other evidence against Mr. McIntosh nor Mr. Rosencrantz as to any possible improprieties. So as a result of that, I don't think that Ms. Crocomo should be eligible for tonight's vote, being that this was not disclosed at all by anybody in the 2 years the ARP situation went on. And it should have been, at least by her standards of an attorney, a licensed attorney, since 1991. She has a code of ethics to abide by, and clearly she did not. I have very strong evidence that she lived there at least part-time.
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. We're off to a stellar start. Mr. Griffith?
There was an announcement. There was an executive session yesterday for personnel. I'd like to know what the personnel matter was. That needs to be included in the announcement about executive session. Is what did it pertain to?
The county manager contract.
Okay, thank you. So that leads to my question on my agenda item number 11 is regarding the adoption of appointing a county manager. I think it's highly unfair for the people in this room to not have those offer proposals for we could discuss it as a public meeting to give council our input, who is going to pay whoever you pick tonight, whether that person should be picked or not based on salaries or contracts or whatever was discussed in executive session. That's highly unfair to the people here. It's public session, it's public agenda items. We have no knowledge at all of the three candidates, what they requested, what they didn't request, any of that. That should be public knowledge for this meeting so we could discuss it as a public, as part of the Sunshine Law. Second item under that issue is I find it very offensive to me, to people who have done the job. Mr. Sweats has done the job for 3 years, 3 times. He's bailed this county out time and time and time again. Every time we needed somebody to step up to the plate, Brian was there every single time. Yet he didn't even get the cut for the first 3 people to be interviewed. And he's doing the job. He's sitting here. Are we going to ask him to also train a new manager that we hire, whether it be any of those 3? That's very unfair to do that to an employee. It's no wonder nobody wants to work here. You do that to people who are in leadership, shame on us for doing that. I don't think that's fair. He should have at least had the opportunity to be at least picked at the top 3. He's doing the work. Item number 3 is I want to thank the members of council who raised the issue about the roof at the prison and all of the stuff that's going on over there. Council stepped up to the plate and try and hold people accountable for that. And my other item is number 4, the well path contract should be put out for bid. As I said before, the charter is clear, $25,000 or more should be put for bid. And the same with Booth Consulting. Booth Consulting holding a gun to council's head now, saying we're going to pull the contract and not give you any more help is offensive. The contract now went down $200,000 in 2 weeks because somebody had the internal fortitude to ask, will you bid on it? And now all of a sudden we're saving $200,000. That tells me that she was overcharged us by $200,000 when the initial proposal came in. So let's put it out for bid and let's make it a competitive bid. If she wants to hold us accountable, just tell her, fine, you could put in for bid or you don't have to. We're going to put it out for bid. That's the right thing to do to people instead of having them hold this council hostage. That's not fair. So I appreciate your time and I really anticipate seeing those proposals. I think we should get them before this vote is taken.
Thank you.
Are we going to get those proposals? Offer proposals for the public as a transparency and right to know, not a right to know, but clearly the Sunshine Law requires us.
The booth proposals?
No, the proposals for the managers.
Oh,
It says in here, the proposals will be given to the people, right in your resolution. It says attachment pending council discussion of terms with applicants, terms and conditions of employment of successful applicants shall be made available to the public at the time of council manager appointment.
So in executive session, what was discussed was the various applicants may have given, proposals as far as what salaries they would take, if they were the successful applicant. That is not, in personnel discussions, that is not subject to disclosure under the Sunshine Act. The only thing to be made public would be an offer letter or contract with a successful candidate. I can tell you unequivocally, names were not discussed in executive session last night. A range of salary was discussed, but as we are well aware, we do not vote in executive session. So there's no vote or hard and fast proposals that were voted on in executive session last night to disclose to the public. This is being done the same way as it was done with Mr. Robertson, the same way as it was done when I sat at this table in 2016 with Mr. Pedrick. So we'll find out tonight when council votes who the successful candidate's going to be and what that salary is going to be, because as I sit here today, I do not know that. Once we have that name and that number to fill in the blanks on that offer letter, that becomes a public document, and we'll be glad to give that to everyone.
So all
Thank
three,
you.
just to be clear, those three candidates that are on the agenda for vote tonight did not say how much money they would take as an employment if they're hired.
Thank-
Yes, but that's not subject to public disclosure. That's executive session material.
So we can't comment on that.
All right, thank you, Controller Griffith.
All right,
Mr.
you're
Knapp, Brian, there's a pulley on the
Just so
right
you know,
side.
The difference in Wilkes-Barre, 125. Up to 100.
No need, right?
Mr. Knapp,
Depends on what option.
I'm looking at what you look, famous for 3 years versus what you talked.
Ronald Knapp from Nanticoke. Mr. Schwetz, I gotta tell you, I was surprised you didn't make the 3. I appreciated what you did for our county. Thank you for your service. Of course, you were paid, I'm sure, well. I was surprised you didn't make the 3. And as far as the selection of the candidates for our manager, new manager coming in, he or she has got their hands full. Without a doubt. I say, anybody who would say we don't wish them the best of luck, that person is only shooting ourselves in the foot. We want Luzerne County to move forward.
please be respectful of the people speaking at the podium.
I am not necessarily saying one way or the other on who I would like. Just
Please be
everybody.
respectful of the people.
you
speaking
aware
at
of
the
that?
podium. I'm sorry, Mr. Knapp.
My-
I'll add seconds on. Members of the public, we have to be respectful. We have a meeting to run. It has to go smoothly. We're not interrupting each other. We're not interrupting council. We're not interrupting the people at the podium. I'll add 30 seconds. I apologize, Mr. Knapp. Go
That's all
ahead.
right. I'm not going to take much more of your time and just explain that again. They have their hands full, whoever it is, he or she. And for anybody to wish them ill in success with what their objective is to bring Luzerne County forward in the future for the betterment of the citizens of Luzerne County taxpayers' money. I wish them the best. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Henry Kreisel?
Hello, thank you. Henry Kreisel, West Hazleton, Vice President of Council. I'm here to emphasize how desperately, it's item number 7 on the agenda, how desperately we need the funding that we applied for. The project that we are trying to complete has been in process roughly 1.5 years. That has been the cause of many restless nights for our municipality. The project is multifaceted improvement and repair of vital infrastructure that includes stormwater drainage, updates and upgrades, road repair, bridge replacement, and restoration of vital access of ingress and egress to our Belmont Industrial Park. The bridge that spans Black Creek, which carries stormwater for the greater Hazleton area, is included in the project, and our funding is short to complete it. Collapse of the structure is imminent and could result in environmental concerns due to the pollutant sediment discharge and stream flow blockage of the Black Creek. The structure was designed to convey all industrial park traffic and stormwater flow. This bridge must remain closed until all repairs are completed, leaving only one way in and out through a residential neighborhood for all industrial park traffic. The tractor trailer trucks must be detoured through this residential area, causing both disruption of business and quality of life concerns for the residents. The road was weight restricted prior to the detour. The closure affects 66 homes, 165 plus residents, and 44 businesses with 2,500 plus jobs. The road closure will continue to create emergency concerns until the bridge is reopened. Restoring this critical access route will protect the state of businesses and residents. In February 2022, a water line burst and closed Deer Run Road, temporarily stranding residents and workers in the area. The Luzerne County EMA office was poised to mobilize to evacuate those in need of assistance at 25 plus businesses and 66 homes. On April 27th, the fire broke out in the ductwork of a local factory in the 400 block of JC Drive, and luckily was not serious enough to cause mass evacuation, but could have very easily been a chemical hazard or a natural gas emergency that could have been required. If local taxpayers must fund all the improvements alone, the economic impact is devastating to us. Without this funding, taxes will inevitably be increased and the disproportionately impacted community will suffer. West Hazleton is in the 83rd percentile low income and 82nd percentile unemployment population, representing a disproportionately impacted community. This funding, along with the secured PennDOT multimodal grant, Pennsylvania DCED LSA grant, and West Hazleton Borough funds will restore these vital services and upgrades and allow us to complete this necessary project. I respectfully request your vote in favor to help West Hazleton Borough and its residents. And I thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. James Swetzer? Let's see.
Good evening, James Schweitzer, President, West Hazleton Borough Council. On behalf of our residents and my fellow council members, we would again like to thank Luzerne County Council for their consideration and adding this item for agenda number 7 for the JC Drive project. And we can't stress enough again the importance, as you had heard previously from Vice President Council, on the multiple impacts regarding public health, safety, and the local economy in Lower Luzerne County. And with that being said, we just want to thank you again for adding and considering us. And please take into consideration the multiple impacts it will have on the community. Thank you all.
Thank you. Sam Troy?
So if I could just make a
Can you say your
comment in general.
municipality? I'm sorry, Mr. Troy, your municipality?
What's that?
Your municipality that you reside in?
Wilkes-Barre
Thank you.
City. If I can just make a general comment before I make specific ones regarding the agenda. And I say this to Wilkes-Barre City Council too when I speak there. I think the public should be allotted more time. When you have this many items on the agenda, there's no way. I mean, you might think it's right, but I don't think it is. This is supposed to be a democracy, even on this level. And I don't think 3.5 minutes is sufficient to cover all the ground that at least I want to cover. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I think council should consider an amendment to that time limit. Maybe make it 5 minutes at least when you have this many items, maybe more than 4 items. But anyway, I would like to address specifically the manager search situation. I urge council to put this, I don't know if it's relevant to say this, to table this, if there is a motion made to choose a manager tonight, to table it, to put it on the back burner. Because I'll tell you, I think the whole process of choosing, of selecting these 3 candidates is flawed. To a certain extent, it's a fiasco and a farce. I don't see how, you're talking about, council appointed these people. I don't think they really did their job in a very dedicated way. Because you're telling me that a national search, okay, last time I admit the county got burned with a guy like Robertson. So maybe they figured they wanted to stay. I like to know the logic of coming up with 3 people. I'm not necessarily putting down all these 3 people, but 3 local people and no national people who probably have a lot more experience and on the job knowledge than these people would have. Especially the top recommended candidate. I just want to talk, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but we had a trial run here of Kokomo last time, Ms. Kokomo. There was a large protest out here, if you remember. And I don't know if that was influential in her deciding not to seek the appointment for manager then. But one of the first things she did is try to she warned us she was going to ask for a tax increase, a property tax increase. I, as a consumer, and I, as a taxpayer, resent that wholeheartedly. I don't know if you people have any empathy as other people that I've spoken to in city council or the school board. I go to all the meetings, and the basis of my address is always the same. I'm trying to hold you people accountable. Do you have any empathy for the taxpayers in this county at all? Because if Kokomo is appointed tonight or whenever, we're going to see another tax increase. The one that was already given to us is breaking people's backs. If you don't believe me, you go up in the Heights and on the church up there in the Heights on the corner of South Main and Northampton, they have a food pantry. They give away food and the line stretches for blocks. People are hurting in this county. And you people, I think, for the most part, I know there's some good people in the council. For the most part, I've made a lot of reckless fiscal decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Troy.
Thank you for your time.
Ms. Hartman? Ms. Hartman? I don't see her. She might be out in the hall.
She's outside.
Thank you. Yeah, they're grabbing her. Mr. Fitzgerald is next, so he's outside too. TJ? Yeah.
You have the podium.
I'm sorry, let me mute my phone because there was no setup out in the hallway. So I didn't hear anything up until this point. I apologize. Sorry. I'm assuming that because I just got this slow, we're on the voting session. Is that
Voting
correct?
session.
Okay, at least I'm following along that much, not prepared. So voting session number 6. Number 6, I'm curious, what and how the litigation, the matter of American Alternative Insurance Company. I don't remember hearing about that here, other than maybe it was an executive session that you guys had, but I'm not sure who that is and what our litigation with the Luzerne County Children and Youth is on there. And then number 11, which is the vote for the county manager. I'm praying for all of you tonight to make the right decision for the citizens and the future generations in Luzerne County. As you saw this past week in Dallas, there was a family of 4 children that were under Luzerne County foster care under under Von Swan. She just got her pension. We need someone that knows what is broken here and what is screaming for help. I look at all the line items, who wants money? There's nothing for children and youth workers to help the kids. Who's asking for their money? Like, I'm just baffled. I'm totally baffled. But we need somebody that can hit the ground running and get work done. Not, let's see what the first 90 days, how many kids are we going to fail in the next 90 days? We don't have time for it. So please make the right decision for our county. Thank you.
Ms. Hartman, number 6, it's a quick answer, so I'll give it
Okay.
to you quickly. It's the litigation. We discussed it in executive session, but it's nothing crazy top secret. It was a deductible from in the past that was never paid. So
Okay.
now to settle it, we're just paying a bill that was passed due.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that very much.
Sure. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Wow, packed house, huh? Reminds me of my college days. TJ Fitzgerald, Newport Township. I just want to go on a couple of agenda items. Number 1 agenda is county manager. Again, I think the fix is in. I think it's a done deal. I think it was a done deal before we even elected the group that decided to bring the 3. I told my daughters, I tell everybody at my office, we all have decisions to make, and it could be A, B, C, all the way through Z. It's not a binary thing saying that we have to get a county manager today or not. There's other options. There's an option to send it back to another committee. I don't think this committee did their facts. I don't think they were thorough. If they did, there was a comment on one of the people that was standing up here saying that when they looked at a background check, they said it wasn't in our purview or something like that. So my personal opinion is, I think, the acting county manager, I don't think the Luzerne County is going to blow up or go on fire anytime soon. I think it's fine with him running it, until we find someone that we really, really like and really, really trust. I think we should kick it back, get a new committee, and start all over. I think Harry Haas and the other, as a Republican and the Democrat, that's the next council person, should have been on that list. Who better to know what council needs as a manager than a previous council person? Those two were not on there. It's stupid, in my opinion. So that's what I think what we should do. I think we should table it. I think we should not act in haste. I think because of Robertson, we did that, and I was an avid fan of his, and we all acted in haste to see what we got there. Sometimes, you don't rush down, you do something intelligent. As far as the ARP funds and booth management, that was another big mistake. I mean, the Mitchell plan that he put out there, and then we approve of $60 million of taxpayer ARP funds to groups and entities in our county who did not meet necessary criteria to receive funds. His plan uses socialist strategy where everyone gets free money, whether they deserve it or not, resulting in more votes for him as he approaches his reelection. I think it was a game that he played, and I think a lot of the county members went along with it. I think a lot of the county members are working together to help ensure their reelection instead of doing what's right by the people. I think that this vote's going to happen. I think the people of Luzerne County are screwed, and I've really almost given up on county right now. I think it's sad. I think it's selfish. I think it's self-centered, and honestly, we're losing, and we always lose. The citizens always lose. I have no faith in most of the county councils at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have no other slips. Any other members of the public that wish to speak on agenda items? Sure.
Diane Kalman from Kingston, and I want to speak on the vote for booth management. I was flabbergasted when I opened the paper this morning and read where we're at right now with this whole process. And I'm really not sure how we got here tonight, and in the situation we're in. I think it's outrageous what Booth is doing. And I'm just flabbergasted. But with that said, we have people that are trying to get their projects taken care of. I have signed leases and have made commitments. You all are familiar with my project, and I lost one of my members to a nursing home last week that was waiting for us to get her into our new facility. And so that's 6 now. And I can't stand by and live with that anymore, which is why we're opening the facility we're opening. I really think that you can't put it out for bid again. I think we're way past that. I think that you have to, at the very least, sign on for 1 more year with Booth and hope that these projects can be put in place, and then give you the time if you need to find another entity to take over for them. I'm not sure why we didn't think of that a few months ago anyway, with their contract being up June 30th, or pay them the extra money between now and June 30th. Something has to be done so we can get these projects going. And I would like to disagree. Mr. Mitchell's plan was an 11th hour saving grace, if you will, when everything was just, we didn't know what to do, and you folks didn't have the answers, and things were very confusing, and things had gone way past the timeline. So I applaud Mr. Mitchell for coming up with that plan. I don't know, again, flabbergasted. I beg of you to please do the right thing tonight in your vote, even though you have been backed into a corner, and it really is a shame and feels like almost like a crime to me at this point. And I thank you for your attention, as always.
Thank you, Ms. Kalman. Any other members of the public that are here that wish to speak on agenda items? Okay, anybody on the Zoom? It looks like there's 2 people with their hands up. Vivian? Just state your name and the municipality you reside in.
Hi, it's Vivian Kreidler-Lucina. I'm from Luzerne, from Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, in Luzerne County. I have the thing about the county manager. I think that we should, he's already interviewed a lot of people. I think we need to pull in another round of candidates and interview them and see what they have to bring to the table. I'm concerned with the one that is up because she walked out in Luzerne County, and that makes a very big difference. She was in the running before and she pulled out of it, and then she left the county and left us hanging. That's all I have to say about that. As for the booth management, I think it's wrong that you have been given an ultimatum with them. And to me, that would tells me that throws a flag right there that that's not something that the county needs at this point. Yous are in charge of that money. Yous can continue to give it out while you search for another company to help yous. But to be put into the position of do as I say, or you get nothing, we're not going to help you at all. That's not right. I believe you really need to look at that and not vote on that. I would say no. And I mean, they're charging more money than they should be anyway. I'm sorry. But I'm sure there's other companies out there can help you. And that's all I have to say. And I hope everybody's doing good, doing well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rainbow?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Rabo of Hazleton. On the West Hazleton JC Drive project, I strongly support and believe that council should allocate the monies for that project, considering that it is a dire need for West Hazleton Borough, and it is a safety issue, especially when it comes to if there's any torrential storms that happen during the summertime that happened in previous years. So I think that it would behoove the council to assist West Hazleton Borough, and considering that they're a very low income municipality. I know I live right next door to West Hazleton Borough in Hazleton City, and I strongly believe that Luzerne County should help out West Hazleton Borough for this project of need. With regards to the manager search committee and booth management, this all ties into what can be summed up as in one term: political expediency. If anybody on council or anybody else that, disagrees with me or agrees with me thinks that this is not political expedience at its worst, then I don't know, you might be living under a rock all this time, because I've been through these manager search committees since the inception of home rule, like Controller Griffith, like Councilman McGinley, like Councilman Urban, like Acting Manager Sweats. We've all been through this. And it's just sad and pitiful every single time I see this, where the county could get it right and decides to do it wrong, and decides to do the infamous, nefarious backroom deals that it's known for. I mean, why not, like as the previous commenter said, why not get or even a new committee that isn't tied to the political establishment in the courthouse? Maybe you might find some qualified people if it's a national search. You might surprise yourself. And as it was stated, Mr. Sweats is doing a very capable job as it is. There's no need to rush. So why not just take the time and get it right the first time, instead of just having somebody who is politically connected that was probably promised to come back, or by coming back, they would get the job. So, Madam Chair, I'm not finished yet.
That was 3
minute.
minutes. Thanks, Mr. Rabo.
No, I have
Rabo?
1 minute left. I'm counting. Okay, I have
No.
1 minute left.
We counted it down. No, I'm sorry. It was 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I know the courthouse oligarchy doesn't like when I speak. All right, thank you very much.
A very concerned resident, just state your name and municipality, please.
My name is Joseph McKay from Laughlin. I just want to say that the selecting committee for the top three, it must be flawed, because Brian Sweats, I listen to these meetings week after week, and county council says that he's doing a fine job. He gets commended at each meeting for being prepared. He does the right reports. If he didn't make the top three and two of the other people didn't even sit in as acting manager, they don't have the experience. I'm going to say that the selecting committee that did the research that recommended the top three, I'm going to say that it was flawed. I mean, Brian Sweats has been doing a fine job. I could see if he wasn't number one, but he should have been in the top three. So I'm just gonna say Brian Swetch, you did a great job so far. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that wish to speak on agenda items? Rick Davis, just put their hand up.
Yes, listening to all the comments on
Please,
on
please
this
state your
manager,
municipality.
Black Creek
Your
Township,
municipality.
Black
Thank
Creek
you.
Township.
Thank you.
By listening to all the comments and everything that I've heard about what's going on with this manager vote tonight and the way it's been selected, I strongly urge the council to please table this vote. It seems like it's wrong in every way. There's probably a lot of qualified people, but it's being rushed through for some unknown reason. I strongly urge council to table this vote. That's all.
Thanks. Any other members of the public? Okay, hearing none, we can move on to motion to approve the minutes.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Number one, motion to adopt ordinance amending the 2023 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County for the DA.
Second.
Leanne. And then Mr. Lombardo. Roll call?
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich.
Yes.
Ms. Radel.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number two, motion to adopt ordinance adopting a parking ordinance in Hanover Township.
So move.
Second, Venus.
Mr. Wilbur, Venus, roll call?
Mr. LaScavitch.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Ms. Radel.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number three, motion to adopt resolution authorizing the additional use of American Rescue Plan Act funds to make repairs at the Luzerne County Correctional Facility.
Motion. No question.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am absolutely 100% in favor of supporting any necessary repairs needed at our prison. However, the monies that are continuously being requested with very little reasonable explanations bothers me immensely. Every one of them requires that we expend a lot more taxpayer money. And I asked questions of the administration, I asked questions of division and department heads, and I don't get good answers back. For instance, we found out several weeks ago that the elevator work, which we have authorized enormous amount of spending already, a couple of times in the past 12 months. Otis Elevator Company came forward with a letter and asked Mr. Wilbur, who's our director over there at the prison, asked for another $42,000 because of the delays caused by our county in awarding his project. He specifically, they cited the delays between June of last year and January of this year, which is about 7 months. I followed up on that a couple of weeks ago. And I asked Mr. Swetz to give me the reasons for those delays between June of last year and January of this year. He replied that, and he sent a litany of 23 email exchanges between Otis Elevator and Barry Issett and Associates. They are our consultant that are paid by the county to represent us in these matters over there. And the 23 emails, I read through them all, but they spanned a time period of January 20th of this year to April 28th, 2 weeks ago. None of it explained the delays 6-7 months earlier. Now, I asked Mr. Wilbur the same thing. Now, to his credit, he wasn't here. We just appointed him about, I don't know, 2 months ago to the position. So he wasn't privy to all that delay information 6-7 months ago or 8 months ago. I am a little distraught that no one from the Otis Elevator Company came here 2 weeks ago to the work session and explained exactly what those delays were, why they needed $42,000 extra taxpayer money. And again, they're not here tonight. I don't believe they're on the Zoom. Are they, Otis?
I don't see them on this.
No. So they're just asking for money. And I just really want to know why those delays occurred. Since no one has explained to me that it was the county's fault, I'm presuming it was not our fault. I'm presuming the delays were caused either by Otis Elevator themselves or Barry Issett and Associates, our paid consultant, or both. Don't know what happened. I used to do a lot of bidding way back in the days in New York City. Sometimes the contractor would throw clauses or caveats in a bid, which caused problems later on after the award or prior to the award. And the award sometimes couldn't be made until everything was clarified legally because a contractor changed the language. I'm not saying Otis did that, but no one's telling me what happened. I don't know if Barry Issett and Associates, our longtime consultant here, who I don't have any issue with at all. I don't know if maybe they made an error. And it took a while to straighten out. At any rate, my presumption is our county and our taxpayer dollars shouldn't pay for that delay, since no one can explain to me or you people here what that delay was. If you feel comfortable voting to give that money away, fine, do it. I don't. Again, I support the prison 1,000%, but I can't in good conscience keep throwing extra taxpayer money at something that's not explained to me. The other item that falls under this motion is the $56,000 of extra money for the roof. Now, everybody here knows how much money we already pledged to that roof repair. And we hired a consultant that represented the county. Was it Sobek? Sobek Roof Consultants. We hired them last year. And Mr. Sobek stood at the podium on this side of the room. I remember it well. And he sung praises of his company, how they're superior. They do an enormously thorough and efficient job of evaluating the work that needs to be done on any roof project. They fly their drones over the roof project, take all thousands of pictures, and they get in tight from the air. And he said they're the best company to do this kind of work. But now, a few weeks ago, we find out, oh, there's a section, roof 7. There's a section at the prison that's leaking all over the place. And oh, it's not in that original scope of work. I don't know whose fault that is. Sobek said they were great at evaluating all this type of work, but someone missed a big roof over at the prison. And it's leaking all over the place. And it's been leaking for a long, long time. When I first got on council over a year ago, I went on a tour of that facility, the prison. I know Mr. Perry was with me. A couple others here were with me. And I remember a few things about the prison, some I don't want to talk about here, but especially that one room where this room, it's the, I don't know, command center or whatever. And you go in a room, it's about half the size of this room. And there were buckets, garbage pails everywhere, and plastic sheets from the ceiling block down into buckets, and water was leaking everywhere. And they had computer terminals covered in plastic so they wouldn't get wet. That was me. I observed that a year ago. Yeah, it's not in the scope of work. They want another 56,000, 55,900 to complete that roof job. So as long as these things keep coming to council and ask for extra money, and oh, by the way, we need more money, and a month later, we need more money, and no one's really explaining to me what happened or who's going to be responsible or take ownership of the missteps, I can't in good conscience vote for something like this. And that's where I'm going to go tonight. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. McKinley?
Yeah, please. I really have a couple comments. Number one, we funded some of the prison repairs half and half. Capital Fund, American Rescue Funds. So I think we should definitely consider that again. Number two, and this is going to be more of a problem as we move along, the American Rescue Funds are dwindling at this point. And the lost revenue side is really down to the point where it's almost zero. So if we keep adding all these things, our American Rescue Fund is not going to be available. And there's going to be emergencies or projects that need to be done. And do you want to take it out of the general budget? I don't think so. So I think we have to consider using the capital fund. Mr. Thornton makes some very good comments. 12 years ago, I went through the prison. That same room that he talked about with the sheets and stuff, that's the way it was 12 years ago. So there's been no improvement there. And obviously, the prison was well aware that that roof was a problem. So it should have been included in the work. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I do think we're going to have to do something. I do think that some of that responsibility lies not with the county, but with the consultants and the people who did that estimation and scope of work. So I would say at least half of that money that's requested, however we end up with whatever number, comes out of the capital fund, which has $2.8 million, which is more
Yeah,
than
I'm
what
on the
we have.
call. No, I would have
Ms.
my
Booth,
dinner.
you're not muted. Ms. Booth, you're not muted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. McKinley. Mr. LaScavitch, and then Mr. Willoughby.
I agree with everything Mr. Thornton just said and Mr. McGinley. And I said from day one, when the original proposal came out, back when this ARPA money started and the number was thrown out, 20 million for small business, I indicated that we better take care of our in-house projects first. Everything we own under this dome, let's get it paid for if we can do it through that money. Because it'd be a heck of a thing if we give it away and then we say to the taxpayers, hey, guess what? We're gonna raise your taxes because we forgot about the prison roof, we forgot about the elevator, we forgot about the repairs needed at the county airport, and we can go on and on and on. But one thing I want to say about this roof and this elevator, I think we're so far deep into these projects, right? But going forward, I think if anybody brings a project anymore and it goes over the dollar amount, not $1, and I said 2 weeks ago, they better not come back for 25 cents for the roof or 25 cents for that elevator, because I'm sick of listening to it. That's all I've heard since I'm here. But I think going forward, any other project that's looking for additional funding, unless it's in black and white and a great explanation for all of us to view, you do not get another dollar. It's that simple. It's not hard. It really isn't.
I want to say one quick thing before Mr. Wilovich. Mr. LaScavitch said, we don't want to forget about county projects. The thing of it is with these elevators and this roof, we didn't forget it was misinformation. We awarded the money thinking, okay, we're going to give this money. We're going to have an operational safe elevator. We're going to have a roof that doesn't leak. And we awarded it with the expectation that it would be fixed and not back to us in a couple months saying, well, pieces were missing. So that's what's aggravating. I want a safe prison, and that's not, I think all of us do, and I don't think that's what we're complaining about. I think it's the way that it was presented. It should have been a complete project presented to us, and maybe moving forward, build, with the capital plan, it's difficult, but build a certain amount of contingencies in. I'm not saying like $500,000 in contingencies, but build something in so that you're not coming back every time there's like a little bit of a change order or the price went up. You're not coming back to us. Like, come to us, get the full amount, get the project done so that things are done the right way the first time and not little bits and pieces. Sorry, Mr. Willoughby.
I just have a question for Mr. Wilbur. I know there was back and forth in the emails, there was a discussion about capital plan money that was, you were not sure if it was included or was not included. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yes, Jim Wilbur, Luzerne County Division of Corrections. Great. I did send that. I tried to be as clear, even though it was a little bit confusing. When after the work session, I went back because I wanted to try to get everything together in my mind because I understand what you're saying. I agree. I don't want to be here every time either. You know what I mean? Not that I don't, anyway. But the reality was, I think there was already monies that were set aside I was unaware of in the very beginning, back in January 25, 2002. There is on the work plan session document, there is 350,000 denoted capital plan funds. When I first put my figures together and found out that we potentially had a shortfall, I wasn't aware of those monies. That's why I tried to explain that in that email today. Then I went back again and I've read these resolutions quite a few times now. And the way that I'm pretty convinced that that in fact is the case is that not only was it in the work agenda, it was sent also in an email from Danielle Cunningham to the then director Rakovich on June 13th, 2022, where it said approved ARP funds. And for replacement of elevators, there was 300,000, which was approved in the initial resolution in January. And then it says next to it, 350 in capital plan. So the second time that monies were asked for, in regards to these projects was in July, I believe. I have the agenda right here. It was, I'm sorry, June 28th. This was council meeting date, June 28th. This, again, Director Rakovich, Engineer Lawrence Plesh. The summary right here says, before they asked for the additional 235,000, that the use of 300,000 of American Rescue Plan money for the replacement of the 2 elevators located at the Luzerne County Correctional Facility and an additional 350,000 of the capital plan monies were to be utilized for completion of this project. So I'm very convinced that in fact, the monies are in that capital plan. I would then go to the capital plan, look at it, and there is a line item there, and I denoted what it was in the email. I think, did everybody get a copy? I tried to reply all, so everybody get a copy of it. That there were capital plan monies, in fact, for the modernization of the elevators. So that's why I said, and I reached out to Mr. Sweats and said, I think the good news is we don't need what we thought we did, because that shortfall was based on not knowing that capital plan money was there. And that was just simply just not having the right information. That's why I went back, dug through it, went through all the agendas, went through all the meetings, listened to as much as I could to try to piece together how we got to where we're at today, so we don't ever have to do this again. I don't know if that answers your question.
So my question is, do we really need this money to be put towards it, or is that money already there?
I believe that money is there.
Yeah, so to, Mr. Torres' question, I think it's not really a prison issue. You would think elevators is really engineering, operations. The operations team is telling me the money, that's why I didn't pull it. Mr. Wilbur is saying he went through the resolutions as a budget finance, and that they don't need it. And I'm being told by operations that they absolutely need money. So I don't want to come to you and say, again, pull this item to have somebody else or myself have to come and bring this back to you. I believe it's really an operations call, because a facility like that to manage seems more operations than practice.
From a financial aspect, I mean, is the money there or is it not?
There's 350,000 allocated in the capital plan and not a dollar spent today. Operations is saying that they need that money and additional money. Correct. And Mr. Wilbur is saying he does not.
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second that motion.
Thanks.
Who's second?
Lovich, roll call on the table.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott. Yes. Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry. Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Lovich.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Yes.
Ms. Radel.
Yes.
And I would hope that people get their act together and find out exactly what the situation is.
So that was going to be my comment. Let's get that sorted out and come back to us when we
Madam Chair.
have an answer.
I'd like to thank Mr. Thornton for doing that research. Appreciate it very much, and hopefully we can get some of the answers to the questions he proposed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. Motion to adopt resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a month-to-month contract extension with WellPath for inmate medical services.
Motion.
Second.
Another question. Madam
Sure.
Chair. Once again, I brought this up 2 weeks ago at the public meeting. And I know we absolutely need to have a company like WellPath or WellPath themselves in the prison to do the valuable work they do with inmates that are very addicted to drugs when they come in there. WellPath sent, I think, sent Mr. Wilbur a letter recently explaining why they needed more money to do that. And the reason they gave was the national rate of inflation was 6%. And so they're asking for 6% more on their contract, which is a multi-million-dollar contract. It equates to over $500,000 over the next several years. Again, of taxpayer money that we're supposed to vote on here tonight. So whenever I hear someone's asking for more taxpayer money, I'm gonna ask and look at and analyze the reasons why. So, as a lot of people know, the last 30 years, I've served in the financial services industry and, familiar with CPI, Consumer Price Index, inflation rate of the country. Now, just for edification purposes, there's not one inflation rate. There's an inflation rate for all items in the country. That would include food, oil, energy, automobiles, housing, manufacturing, everything. That's the all items inflation rate, which WellPath is correct. It is 6%. There's a separate inflation rate for all items minus food and energy. That rate's 5.6. There's several more inflation rates, but the one that's of most interest is the United States healthcare inflation rate, which is published every month by the United States Labor and Industry Statistics. And that rate for the US healthcare, called the US healthcare inflation rate, which includes all medical field numbers, is 1.49%, 1.5. I went back and looked at the past 7 or 8 months. Because again, WellPath's asking for 6% hike on their multi-million-dollar contract. First of all, it's unfair that they're using the highest inflation rate they can find out there, even though it doesn't apply to what they're doing at the prison. I would like to ask I forget his name, Mr. McLevine, who sent the letter.
He did, yes, sir. He sent the
Okay,
letter.
I know you said you might have someone on the wire tonight,
Madam Chair, is Mr. Dahl on Zoom?
but before we go there, I want to ask these questions and Mr. Dahl can answer them.
Wait, I don't know if he's on now.
He told me.
Why are they using the 6% highest inflation rate they could find? I doubt that over in that prison, WellPath, their costs include buying houses, buying cars, buying oil, gas, electricity. I mean, they're in our prison. I don't think we're charging them for the electricity they're using, okay? WellPath, I don't know what they do to eat food over there, but that shouldn't be included in their inflationary numbers. They're in the healthcare field, medical field, and they should be using the 1.5% actual inflation rate right now to boost their contract, not 6%. Matter of fact, if you go back the last 7 or 8 months, go back the last 12, 13 months, the highest rate in any 1 month that the healthcare field experienced was 6% even last September, 1 month. And the 5 months prior to that was 4, 4, 3, 3, 2. Since last September, when it was 6%, the monthly inflation rate from September to October went down to 5%. Next month, 4%. December, 4%. January this year, 3%. February, 2%. March, 1.5%. So it's not fair to say they need 6% increase. That's not applicable to the business they're in. So again, that's a lot of money. Over 500,000 of taxpayer money based on an exaggerated or erroneous inflation rate they're using. And I'm not willing to give them that. It's actually 1.5%. I'd be willing to even go maybe 2% with them or 2.5. But the reality is in this country now, and almost every economic analyst nationwide would tell you gradually inflation is either leveled off or gradually coming down. inflation is not still trending upwards. So it's expected in the next 6 months or year that inflation will gradually start coming down, and it already has. I don't see the justification to be paying them 6% extra.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Two things. Number one, the first thing I want to address, just so the public is completely aware, this is a month-to-month contract under the terms that there will be a RFP put out. There will be an RFP put out so that we get competitive pricing on the contract. So this on the agenda tonight is a month-to-month, not the contract that Mr. Thornton is referring to. Second thing is, an L Dahl is on the Zoom, if you want to address the inflation question. But again, I just want to really make it clear that we are not voting on this contract. We're voting on a month-to-month contract while we wait for an RFP. Mr. Dahl, do you want to address where the inflation rate came from?
Yeah, I can speak to that briefly, if I may. Thank you so much for the opportunity. One of the problems with the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data as it's published is it doesn't break it down to make the distinction between healthcare services provided in various locations, such as in a hospital compared to in a nursing home, compared to in a private doctor's office, or compared to in a correctional facility. Our principal cost is staff. And as a consequence of COVID, the United States healthcare system has been in a tailspin for the last 24 months, which I'm sure the administration of the local hospital would agree with. There's a significant nursing shortage. Historically, we've gotten a 3% increase on our contract between 2021 and then in 22. However, that number carried forward is actually 12% behind what we are currently paying nurses that work in the jail. The rate we're currently paying nurses that work in the jail is significantly behind the current local market, which is contributing to our difficulties in attracting and retaining qualified staff. It's a very complex issue, which I'm really not in a position to probably provide enough information to satisfy everyone's interest on the call this evening, but we would be happy to sit down, go through the data, demonstrate exactly what it's costing to provide services in the facility, so that the county can appreciate that we are in fact trying to be a good partner for the county, but we have no control over the costs associated with recruiting medical staff. There is no sub element in the U.S. Labor Bureau statistics that addresses the cost of healthcare in a correctional facility. So I don't disagree with the council member who raised those data points. I've seen them all myself. We've arrived at a number based upon the real circumstance in Luzerne County to recruit qualified staff to work in the prison.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think it's important, like you stated, it's a month-to-month agreement.
Call the question.
Call the question. Roll call.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Since it's month-to-month, yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes, on the month, please.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Rader?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 5, motion to adopt resolution approving the initiation of litigation regarding the social media crisis and approving a contingent fee agreement.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lombardo, second by Ms. McDermott. Roll call.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 6, motion to adopt resolution approving the settlement of pending litigation in the matter of American Alternative Insurance Group versus Luzerne County Children Youth Services.
So moved.
Second.
I think it was Mr. Venus for the second. Roll call.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Ms. Radel,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 7, motion to adopt resolution approving the distribution of American Rescue Plan Act funds to West Hazelton Borough.
So moved. Second.
Whoa. I think it was Mr. Willovich was the first, and Mr. Urban was the second. Sorry, Carl.
No, that's all right. You got it.
On the question,
Yes.
you know, I believe West Haven has an issue that they need to work on. There are several problems that may result as we go forward here. Number one, everybody submitted applications. It was all submitted to the Booth organization. There was a timeline. If you didn't submit it, they gave you some time and helped you to try to correct your application. But all the eligibility, et cetera, was based on your application information. Wasn't based on anybody else. So we go through, everybody saw the list. We have all kinds of people. You know, some people are approved, some people are not approved. Now, at the 11th hour, we get information here that West Hazel all of a sudden is available and approved. And probably that should have been the case in the beginning, but the application they submitted didn't have that information. Now we have a situation where we have 30 some other applications. They're sitting out there that did not meet the guidelines. Are they going to be allowed to come back 3 months from now, 4 months from now and say, you know, we need to be approved and we have other information? And finally, you have Dama sitting there. They had 3 or 4 projects approved. We didn't offer them any kind of grant. So we have a real problem. And I think if we don't think about it and come up with a solution, it's only going to get worse. The ARP money is starting to be very limited at this point. I think that West Hazelton has a very good project, but I think that the information wasn't there and it wasn't timely. You know, they're asking for the total amount, I think, for the project. And I spoke with the mayor and their engineer. You know, my thought is we give them a partial grant with the idea that let's see where we are. Let's see what other people come back to us and then decide how to adjust that. But if we don't look at this, come up with some kind of reasonable procedure, we've got problems.
Mr. Swett, did you want to address it or?
No, I mean, I agree. There's an issue with 30 projects that potentially coming back. I think it's more for the consultant, obviously, budget, finance, and administration will work with whoever. But I agree it's a problem and it needs to be addressed. Regardless of if partial funding getting their full funding, there's not much funds left. There's a lot of money still out the door, but there's a lot allocated.
Okay. Mr. McGinley, are you making an amendment or?
I'll make amendment that we give them $750,000, which is $750,000.
Hold on, is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay,
And I have a question.
yep. Who has their hand up? Okay, one. I mean, we're not gonna allow, not at this time.
I have a question on the budget.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking at their application here, based on what you were saying, Mr. McGinley. And it has construction cost of 1.7 million. And then they're showing matching funds of, well, when you add it all up, it's more than that, but they have matching funds of over $1 million and they're requesting 850,000. So if I'm reading it correctly, the entire project cost 1.7 million. Is that correct?
I believe so.
That's correct, right? They're asking for it.
Yes. 850 is the amount of, I'm not sure of the total project amount, but
It's
the
rough-
ask is 850.
it's roughly
Yeah,
half.
total available funds.
It's roughly half of the total construction cost.
Yeah, because they have the 2 other grants already awarded. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I second it.
All right, we have a first and a second for an amendment at 750,000.
On the question.
Yeah.
I don't support that, obviously. I mean, I think that they're not coming to us for the full amount. They desperately need this bridge. And I just can't see myself voting against this and putting the public in danger in that area.
Sure.
Why 750,000 is included?
Well, I think they had some money built in for a contingency, the way I read the information. So I think we already disallowed contingency in a lot of the other grants for the ARPA money. That was one of the things that was taken out for other grants.
We don't know what the contingency, we don't know what the contingency is though, because it was under construction costs. And it was the bid prices plus the contingency to account for inflation and unforeseen circumstances. And this was dated September 7th, 2022, so I'm sure there probably is some unforeseen circumstances.
I'm not gonna support this
Sorry,
either, because living in the town now with a bridge closed, I know how important it is to have a bridge. So no disrespect, Mr. McGinley, but
no,
I agree,
Yeah,
because we just got done beating the elevator and the roof to death because of similar circumstance, so I don't think $100,000 is gonna make or break the county.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to add that I don't disagree with some of what Mr. McGinley said, but I do think that a lot of the onus on this is on our consultant rather than on the applicant, because they, again, are the ones that at the 11th hour told us, okay, wait, now they're all of a sudden eligible for this grant, and that's something I'm going to bring up in the near future when we discuss the consultant.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Can we just do the roll call on the amendment? The roll call is only on the amendment to change it, not the actual vote.
Mr. Perry,
No.
Mr. Thornton,
Having heard the rest of the discussion on no.
Mr. Urban,
No.
Mr. Willoughby.
No.
Mr. Venus.
No.
Mr. LaScavitch.
No.
Mr. Lombardo.
No.
Ms. McDermott.
No.
Mr. McGinley.
Loud and clear, yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
No.
Ms. Radel.
No.
One yes. 10 no.
Okay, the amendment fails, so can we please have a vote on the resolution as is, the motion?
850, right?
Yep.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
This is not a good decision going forward here. I think they need the project, so I'll vote yes. But we stood here 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago and talked about $42,000. Now we have 100,000. Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Ms. Radel.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 8, motions regarding booth management. The first is a motion to remove from the table.
Motion.
Second, Thornton.
Okay, on the question from myself, I apologize. So it's removed from the table. I just want to clarify, reiterate to the public, for those of you who don't know. Yesterday afternoon, we received 3 other options from the consultant. The deadline for, we post agendas on the website. It's not the sunshine law, but they need to be posted 24 hours in advance, but we post them Friday afternoon. So pretty much the agenda is almost totally finalized by then, but changes could be made up until 24 hours before the meeting. There was no possible way council could have gotten all 3 of those posted, added out to all of council onto the agenda and updated before the deadline. We got them around noon. Most of us we were working on other things related, and then we were in a executive session yesterday evening. So it was just a tight deadline. And I think those options are worth considering. Some of them were better options than what we have on the table. So I just want to let everybody know that we were given other options, but there was a time constraint, like in order to get them all out to you and for all of us to digest it, That was a lot of information. Go ahead.
As far as booth management goes, I'll never support them. I just recently, the only reason I know about those changes, because I saw a chain of emails, but never received it directly. Going back to when we asked for all the projects, I never received an email up until Thursday. Thursday night, I finally received it. The ironic thing, it was dated Wednesday. And when I look at the top, it says, "Dear Brian Thornton." Well, this is, I'm not Brian Thornton. So now I say to myself, I cannot go through this process and in good conscience, vote for a company that can't even get emails out or get my name right. I lived with a lot through the whole thing with the portals and everything else. We'll never spend another dollar because I looked last night, there's 30 other companies I found in 5 minutes. Not saying they're better, but we should look and get proposals.
Attorney Lefsanky, did you want to weigh in on the vote?
Yeah, I mean, having nothing to do with the substance of it, I have a Sunshine Act concern because it doesn't matter whether these, and there's 3 different proposals, it doesn't matter that they may be for less money. I think they should be made public at least 24 hours in advance in compliance with the Sunshine Act. If council were to vote on this tonight, understandably, I could see members of the public being upset. They don't know what they are. So I think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because action is demanded of you immediately. But I mean, I think it would be a pretty clear Sunshine Act violation for you guys to vote on these proposals that, I mean, the public hasn't seen within 24 hours. Some of you may not have even seen them.
Ms. Radel?
Yeah.
I would like to keep it on the table with the direction that someone contact the booth group and talk to them and make sure that we have an opportunity to look and analyze the 3 options. So be ready for the next time we meet.
Sure, motion to table, do we have a second?
Well, do we just vote no on removing it from the table?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yes, you could just vote no on removing it from the table, but
Motion in a second.
then state it will be tabled until the next meeting, because if you don't set up a time frame, it by operation dies.
Part of my motion was to contact booth, go through the 3 options that they've provided, analyze them, and have something ready for the next time we meet.
We want to just stick with that then, this way this stipulates that there's action being done in between. Motion, who was the second? Mr. Venus, well, they both did. Mr. Mitchell.
Keep it on the table.
Yeah, it's we're tabling it. Yeah, we made a motion in a second to remove from the table, but then there was a motion to put it back on the table with the stipulation that we go ahead and contact Booth and get information on the 3 offers.
So motion to remain on the table to revisit it next meeting with the work to be done.
Roll call on that.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes. Tabled. Number 9, motion to approve letter to Copart regarding McAlpine Street. You all have the updated letter.
Motion. Second.
You two.
Thanks, Bob.
Roll call.
Mr. Lovich?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 10, motion to adopt resolution committing a local match for state operating assistance for Luzerne County Transportation Authority.
Motion.
Second.
They both said it at the same
I
time.
think it was, Mr. McGinley was the motion and Mr. Venus was,
I think Matt.
or was it you?
Or Greg, one of them. It was me, Greg.
Okay, I heard that direction, so one of them, I don't know.
Mr. Mitchell?
That's fine.
Makes sense.
Oh, this one. Roll call?
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott? Yes. Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number 11, motion to adopt resolution appointing a county manager. When this motion is made, it will have to be for a candidate and an amount.
I'll make a motion for Ms. Romilda Crocamo at $160,000.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll
On the
call?
question,
Yes.
not to belabor this point, someone earlier today in public indicated that the national search of better candidates are. I reviewed all the candidate information, even the ones that were finalists, the ones that were not. Our people were strong or stronger than any of the candidates, whether it be national, local, whatever. I think we have a good group of people. If we get the right kind of support, I think they'll be very successful. It's up to us as council and all the people who are involved in the county government to come out and support the new county manager with the idea that we'll all move ahead.
Thank you, Mr. McGinley. We have a motion and a second.
Question.
Sure.
I just have to make a statement. I just want to let everybody know here in the room and in the public land out there. I did not discuss my thoughts on a candidate with anybody. Anybody here except Mr. LaScavitch a few days ago. He's the only person I gave him my thoughts, but I didn't discuss with anybody else, including public, party people, spouse, children, anybody. I did also review those resumes in the conference room that were laying there. And almost every one of them from out of the area had experience as city manager. Some not even city managers, some running other kind of government departments. Most of them jumped from job to job. They had a 3-year, 2-year tenure, went to another position. We've been through that with the last county manager. So I wasn't willing to go down that route. To address the couple of comments made here tonight at the beginning of the meeting, where some of the public suggested we're pushing this through for political quickness, expediency. Why are we rushing it? I want to remind them, it's been 6 months since our last county manager left, 6 months. And although Mr. Switz is doing a fine job, we need to have a permanent position here established for continuity and efficiency in the continuance of government in the county. And we are not rushing it, in my opinion, and it's been 6 months in the making. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Urban?
Okay, so I'm gonna take a slightly opposite direction. I mean, regarding the candidate, years ago, she came in with very little to no municipal law experience and was elevated to chief county solicitor. Came over from the courthouse side of things, mostly family practice, family law. Didn't really have a background in municipal law. That was, I know, something that was very critical, critical sticking point to have previous council. I have to question somebody's motives if they don't stick around when they say they were going to stick around to help the previous county manager that just left. The morale problem, management problems all stem from the top. The person had the acting county manager position at that time. We went through numerous division heads at that time because that person couldn't make a choice to put permanent division heads in place. Even as acting county manager, they had the full-fledged power of that position and could have taken decisive action like Mr. Swets has. To his credit, he put a couple permanent division heads in place, which hopefully, alleviated some of the morale.
I don't know what I missed.
1 second. Pauline Baldwin, you've been unmuted for a little while. If you could please just mute because we're getting some background noise. Thank you.
Part of the issues in this room and why you can't hear people is because that particular candidate changed this room around during the CARES, Act time period. That was back in 2021. There's still some outstanding issues, $5 fee, being returned from people that got charged them, on their car registrations. I think that's still an outstanding issue. The Swoyersville ballot issue occurred under that particular watch. Complaint at the airport, litigation never came back. Well, that was talking about the 44th airport. That litigation never came back to council. It's still outstanding. I don't know where that's at. That was in 2021. The Avoca Airport debacle, in my mind, is one that was very clear. I asked for information from that particular individual. I had to go pick it up from Avoca Borough at that time. I did not receive that information from the acting county manager at that particular time, and try to pass off documents to us that look legitimate, but were not consummated, so they weren't even real. I questioned them at that time. We've had numerous prison suicides when chief solicitor paid out numerous lawsuits in the tunes of millions of dollars with no real solutions as a leader. A division head should come to council and say, hey, we've got these issues. How can we address them, as a team, so liability doesn't incur in the future, or at least try to prevent some of the additional liability. I think, people might say that certain individuals on county council sometimes create the dynamic that the morale might be low, but when we pay people $90,000+ a year, I expect $90,000+ worth of work out of an individual. I think the taxpayers expect that as well. You pay somebody $165,000 a year or $160,000 a year, they should be worth $160,000. The day doesn't start at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't end at 4:30 in the afternoon. This is county government. I think it's around the clock. I can go on and on about the issues that are still outstanding that happened under that person's watch. The elections issue. The one director was hired under that watch. And then subsequently, that director hired another person, and as a deputy director, we had paper issue. So the choices that person made really impacted this county overall, and not in a positive light. So I can't support the individual, and unfortunately, some of the candidates, even though they're local, no disrespect to one other candidate, but if he can't even fill his department, why would I want to elevate him as a county council member? So I think, quite honestly, I would say, let's, get another manager search committee and go back to the drawing board. But I know my colleagues are going to push this through because I know, no names were discussed last night at all. It was just price, just money, because I think this was already in the bag. Quite honestly, in the bag. I think, some of us predicted this months ago, this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to question in the near future, how is that particular person going to actually manage some of the ARP applications when there's a direct conflict with at least one of them? Legally, because federal money is under federal guidelines, not state guidelines, but under federal guidelines. And there are certain titles that people need to look at very closely before the OIG comes in here and looks at that. I'm dead serious on some of these issues. These are going to be problems that we kind of see or foresee in the future. And quite honestly, like I said, I think my colleagues are going to be making a big mistake. We've tried it once before. You think you're going to get a different result this time around? I don't think you're going to. You're going to get more of the same. I think that people expect to change. The good citizens of Luzerne County expect to change, and I think you guys rush this decision. And I know the game's behind the scenes, but I'd rather not get that political side of it here.
Yeah, we're not going to. We have a motion and a second for Ms. Kokomo, $160,000. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. LaScavitch.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Wilovich.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes, and I think we had 3 outstanding candidates.
Yes. Ms. Radel.
She was the right person then, and she's the right person now. Absolutely, yes. passes. And really quickly, before we move on to the next, I really just want to.
Start date on it.
No, sorry. It's in there. No.
All right, Brian, you gotta leave your seat.
We have to. We have to.
Where you want to represent it.
Okay.
It's in the resolution. There's no start date.
Should we make a motion then, put 2 weeks, or should we wait to find out?
Because it says, yeah, put something, because it says on or about, on or about, so if we get a ballpark date.
There's an on or about blank in the resolution. Can we make a,
Make a motion with June 1st.
Second.
there's a motion and a second for June 1st. We ask her if that's okay.
Sure.
Is, I mean. yeah,
Ms. Kokomo.
that's correct.
Is June 1st okay as a date to fill in?
Yes, I can.
It's on or about.
Yes, that's fine.
We have a motion and a second for June 1st, 2023. Can we have a roll call on that?
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
No.
Mr. Beloved?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay.
I just wanted to say one
I'm
thing.
sorry. And yes.
I know it was insinuating, because it's always insinuated that the fix is in, all this good stuff. I talked to one person, Brian, we ran together. I did not call one other person or had an email or a text message or anything of that sort with anyone else sitting here at this council. So I don't appreciate that, because I'm always gonna defend myself. I don't like it. And with that being said, because the majority of them were city managers, I'm the guy that's gonna sit here and tell you that I made a big mistake last time, because the guy that we received, that was a city manager, had I done my homework like I usually do, I would have rejected him. It ended up being the worst decision that this county made in a long time. You know, and I'll openly say that I mean,
First, I want to congratulate the new county manager, Attorney Kokomo, but I would like to take a moment. We'd be remiss if we didn't thank Mr. Sweat for his service to this county. He's done a phenomenal job in getting us through this time. He's been steering this ship for longer than a lot of you realize. It's definitely before the previous manager left. He's been running this county for us. He steps up time and time again, and I really hope that he'll just go back to his position in budget and finance. He's an asset to the county. We would be lost without Mr. Sweat. So I thank you. But Ms. Kokomo, did you want to?
Madam Chair, honorable council members, thank you for your vote of confidence in appointing me the next Luzerne County manager. I want you and the people of Luzerne County to know that I will work tirelessly on their behalf. That is not only a promise, but a duty. I look forward to working together with council to make sure that Luzerne County is the best that it can be. I have to acknowledge and thank Brian Sweats, Fred Rosenkrantz, and Bill McIntosh, men who I worked very closely with as the chief county solicitor and acting county manager. They have contributed to this county in ways that no one really knows, except those of us who worked in the county. Be assured that I will ensure that council's leadership and vision is successfully implemented. And to the staff, We can achieve anything together. And finally, to my family. My family have for generations been residents of Luzerne County. I talked about them in my interview. I want to be clear right now, I am a very proud resident of West Hazleton. And I want to tell council members that I did live in Cunningham for years with my brother-in-law and sister. When they opened their home to my mother who was dying, and they opened their home to me so that I can assist in taking care of her. My sister worked in the hospital and the lab. She would come home, and in the morning we would change my mother. And when my brother-in-law came home, he would have a smile on his face, and she would say, "He's the good humor man." So to them, who have been with me with my trials and tribulations, you are my rock and you are my heart. And I am truly blessed. But right now, let's get to work. Thank you.
Okay, uneventfully, number 12, motion to adopt resolution to disband the manager search committee. Whoa. Mr. Wilovich, Mr. Mitchell, roll call.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Beloved?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. LaScavitch?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Radel?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you so much to the manager search committee for their work. They met a lot of times in public, out of public. They put a lot of their time and energy into this manager search. So we thank them for their time commitment for sure. Next, we have public comment on non-agenda items. I have a bunch of slips to work through them. Controller Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things I wanted to say is, first of all, thanks to the members of council who are doing their due diligence on these things that come up. Councilman Thornton and Mr. McGinley and a couple others who actually read the documents, come here prepared and ask important questions. It's tough work. I've been there. It's tough work. I appreciate the work that you guys do. And ladies, I appreciate that very much because it's important. Ms. Crocomo was a good choice for the county as a county manager, as the controller in my office. I look forward to working with her. When I first went in the office, I had an issue that I needed access to. Absolutely no problem, Mr. Griffith. Everything was released and was taken care of. It was no problem. So I anticipate moving forward, not what I had with County Manager Robertson, but with the new manager. And I think to Mr. McGinley's point, if we work together, we could, instead of spending our energy holding the county back, let's spend our energy moving the county forward. We could probably make the county a way better place and make things have less animosity one to another. As Brian said when he first took over, Mr. Sweats, that we can get a lot of things done if we work together. And I think that goes a long way. To that point, I did send council members an email this weekend about the issue with the Myers family and the issue that happened over there in Dallas. I certainly hope that our new manager, Ms. Crocomo, will look into that matter and find out why we paid that family over $344,000 in payments for adoption subsidiaries and all the other things that we paid. And those children were found in that kind of condition. I think that's really important. Children and Youth is a really tough agency. I wouldn't want to work there. I'm sure nobody else would like to either. But we still need to do our oversight on that and make sure that children are protected. To Ms. Hartman's point, she comes here all the time talking about that. We need to do our better for our children in this county. That is just not acceptable when you read those type of articles in the paper and you find out that those people were actually being compensated by the county over the past, I can't tell you how many years, for monies for a subsidiary as an adopted family. So I think that's really important that we look into those matters and make sure people are being accountable and doing the things with the money that we give them. I think to ask for anything less than that is the disservice to the people of the county. You know, Mr. McGinley makes a great point on that ARP funding. You know, we step on a banana peel, we're liable to slide. And when we go out and we say, not that West Hazleton doesn't deserve the money, that's not the point. The point is, how do we draw the line now on any of the other applicants? So I appreciate the point that he brought up on that. I think it's a valid point that sometime maybe council is going to have to address that coming down the road. Hopefully not, but it may come back and bite us later on. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
And congratulations to Ms. Crocomo.
Thank you. And one other thing I wanted to say, and then I'll move on to the next public comment. I should have done this earlier, and I don't want to wait till the end of the night. It might be too late. I want to thank Mr. Rosencrantz and Mr. McIntosh for applying, throwing their name in the hat for the county manager position. I think it speaks a lot to their dedication to the county. So thank you for both for what you do. Mr. Knapp.
Ron Knapp from Nanticoke. Thank you, Madam Chair Kendra Vo, Vice Chair Lombardo, and all council members. I find it to be very important to express my desire for an election this year without incident. But I am sorry to report that the process is already showing faults. But I am sorry to report that the process is already showing faults. Regarding the Bureau of Elections, I requested poll watcher certificates on two dates, 4/21/23 and 4/27/2023. Each poll watcher request form has two people requesting to represent me in the May 16th primary election. I received notice the certificates were available for pickup on May 5/8/2023 via phone message on 5/5/2023. I stopped at the Bureau of Elections on said date. I submitted the third poll watcher request form for an additional watcher request that day. I asked for the completed certificates and they were presented to me. When I got situated in my car and shuffled through the certificates, I discovered 5 certificates instead of the 4 I requested. I did not recognize the 5th certificate's assigned name, but it was issued to me for delivery to that person. I got home to investigate who the person was. I found out with the use of the street list countywide provided to me by the Bureau that the person is not of my party. I am running for office. I did not request this individual to poll watch for me. I have copies of all documents submitted as I requested the Bureau to take copies of the documents and timestamp them into my records for a paper trail for my own record. I bring this to the attention of council because if this is an indicator of what we can expect of the performance of the Bureau in the May primary, I am beside myself, and all other candidates should be also. No rhyme or reason for such disregard for accuracy in the election process. I believe this is a perfect way to test the new manager as the individual who will show his or her, now Ms. Crocomo, congratulations to your appointment. And this goes to show you, I did not make any decisions on who that person was going to be. The responsibility to rein inept and disregard to policies and procedures in the Bureau. I believe if this is not handled in a swift fashion, we might as well throw in the towel in regards to our election process it is being handled.
Thank you.
I want the voters, taxpayers, and residents of Luzerne County to be abreast of these shortcomings, because in the end, we will all pay a penalty debt for such an act.
Okay, please.
The truth is
Mr. Knapp,
now let's me attack it.
Mr. Knapp, please stop or you'll
But in the
be
end,
asked to leave.
there we leave.
Wasn't me this time.
Please respect the decorum of the meeting. Everybody.
Ms. Hartman?
Thank you, Elizabeth Hartman, Hanover Township. First of all, I want to congratulate Ms. Kokomo on her position. I think she is the best choice. I haven't been quiet that I think she's the best choice. I love how Mr. Thornton digs into something financially and digs it apart. When I listen to you speak here, I really love that. I love Steve's point of view on a lot of different things because I never look at it like that. I'm starting to pull you apart, Mr. Leskevich, and I love what I'm seeing. Like, it takes me a while to figure it out, like what's going on. I look at people and judge in different ways. I want to say I'm so proud. Please, let's move forward tonight. I think I heard controllers say that we were paying that Myers family, out in Dallas. That's 4 children that were in county care per the paper, that were in foster care. They were then adopted into this family. They were found by porn charges. They went into the home, and in the home, the kids were naked, laying on garbage bags per the Times Leader article and the portal charges. These are kids that we should have been taking care of under Von Swan's watch, and we failed them. And how you guys dig your stuff apart, she can dig them apart because she was there. And she's standing here saying she's going to do the right thing. I'm going to hold her feet to the friggin' fire. Okay. So you dig real estate, you're good at it. You do this, you're good at it. I'm sorry you're going. Like, I may not say it a lot, but like, I dig for what works. Like his experience, I don't know where the heck we're going to get that, because there's so much in that brain from all the time. Like when he's gone, we're in trouble. But I'm happy that the county is going to move forward. And I'm very sad for the children that were put in that situation and are now back getting more trauma. I also requested a right to know on the hearing, and I was told it was not recorded. I have to wait for the stenographer reports. So I got that back from Mr. Hummer this afternoon. The retirement meeting was not recorded.
Yes, yeah, since it was court ordered, it was a stenographer, so instead of just being minutes, it'll be like actually word for word transcripts.
Or that, how long will that take, you know?
I don't know what the turnaround time on is that, but I can ask and find out for you.
Yeah,
I'll
I'd
let you
like to know typically it's 5 days, so. I mean,
Yeah,
I
if
know
it's-
you don't have to meet all the rules, because there's a lot of it. I don't
Yeah.
need.
It does.
It's probably gonna take you.
Takes a little bit, yeah.
And then.
We'll make sure you get it.
Took me 5 years to check.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
First of all, I want to address a couple of things first. Kevin, I love you, but when I said the fix was in, I didn't say the fix with you or Brian or anybody else. I meant pre that where the people. So I know you're an honorable guy. Okay. I love you, brother. Love you, Mr. Thornton. I love you guys. I love most of you. Don't like the way you vote, but I do love you guys. There's a big difference. I'll fight with you to the end, as you know. The waiting, I think if we did Mr. Sweat's a disservice, I think he should have been one of the top 3. But I'm a man of my word. I told you last time, if you guys decided that it was going to be Ramilda, I will do everything I can to support you guys because they re-elected you and you appointed her. So I know that a lot of my friends are going to hate me for this, but congratulations, Miss Crocomo. If there's anything I could do to support you, I will. I promise. That's a word. And I think you all know I'm a man of my word. You might not like me, but if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I say I'm not, I'm not. So I will do everything I can to have her become a success if I can do it. Now, everybody's been breaking my balls about I had a party for the last manager. Am I going to have one for Ramilda? I'll have one for Ramilda. So after she is here, we will have, just because we got to move on. Like I always said, it's okay to fight. I have some of my best friends, I've actually fist fought. Went into a bar and they're my best friends and that's just the way it is. You know, I'm fighting with 3 council members right now where we're not on the same page. I want to get other people elected in the Republic. If you don't mind, I'll wrap it if there was a beep.
You have a minute.
Okay. We're gonna fight. You know, you guys know I'm not supporting you 3, and it's because of how you voted. I'm supporting Greg Griffin and Harry Haas. But I also give you my word, whoever wins, I'm gonna be a true Republican and I'm gonna support whoever wins. But I'm gonna fight like hell to make sure you guys are primaried out. And I'm gonna fight like hell. But all's fair in love and war. But I am a man of my word. I will do everything I can to help Romilda Crocamo. And I will tell everybody to give her a chance. And we have to give her a chance because that's what grown-ups do. Grown-ups do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I preach that all the time. And I would be a hypocrite if I wasn't a grown-up. So I promise you all, from here on out, I will do whatever I can to support her as the manager. Promise that. I will have a party for you. Kill me to do it. Maybe I could get a break on the funds a little bit because that cost me, you know, I'm not rich like some of you guys up there. You know, paycheck to paycheck guy. I said that in Congress too. And the guy from Congress offered to pay for my trip and I told him no. But that's my thing. I love you all. We got to move forward on this. We have other things to argue about.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Mr. Wilbur? And then Mr. Grantee?
Jim Wilbur, Kingston. I would be remiss if I didn't, as the warden of your prison, let you know this week is National Correctional Officers Appreciation. I didn't forget about that. And I didn't feel it appropriate earlier to mention it. So I'm just going to take a brief moment now to say our staff do a tremendous job under difficult circumstances, 24/7, 365. And they do it for you and for the members of this community.
Mr. Wilbur, can I ask a question? You're a man of God. Can we say a prayer to keep everybody safe?
I just wanted to say that. That's up to, I don't want to keep.
Can we do that? Because they're risking their lives every day, and it is guard week. And we can say a prayer to keep them safe. That would be awesome.
You want to do a moment of silence? I don't want to force, I don't mind a prayer, but I don't want to force it on anybody. So how about a moment of silence? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilbur, and all of your staff. It was Mr. Grantee next.
Joe Grantee, Plains. I just had a question. You mentioned, is it well care or
WellPath?
WellPath? How often does their contract come up?
It depends. I mean, it depends the terms of the contract, but right now we're doing the month to month.
Right.
It
When was the last one? Because I imagine that there was a inflation.
4 years.
Was it 3 or 4?
3 or 4?
It was a 3-year contract.
3-year contract.
So they were working through all these inflation rate hikes on an old contract. Is that correct?
3 years.
Okay, well then, I guess you could justify some kind of inflation adjustment after that much time. I was gonna say if they had come back in 21 or 22 at 9%, and then they were getting that 9% raise, and then it went down to 6, wouldn't they be given something, shouldn't they give something back to the county? I know it doesn't work that way, but you get 9 one time and then the next time it goes up to 6% and you want 6 more and that all adds up. So I just, I was curious as to whether whether they had an adjusted contract for the inflation rate during 21 and 20. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that are here that wish to speak? Sure. State your name and municipality for the record.
Sure. Bill Sharkey, West Hazleton Borough Council. Just want to, number one, congratulate the new manager, and I'd also like to thank council. I'm on council 18 years. This is probably the biggest award we've gotten, and we were 18 years ago under Act 47, and if you guys didn't come through tonight, we might have been going back. I don't know where we're getting that money to fund it. And I apologize if I'm squinting. I left my glasses in the car, so, but thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that wish to speak? Sure, Mr. Dombrowski.
Tom Dombrowski, Dallas. Just want to ask Mr. Wilbur, since he's here, if he could take the rest of my time. Have you looked at, because I know one time.
Please address county council. This is for county council.
Well, I was going to ask him if he could explain, because he's the director of the prison. Has he looked at the retreat prison as an option? Because I know several members of his staff did at some point in the past 1 year. And could he give us an update as to whether that's a viable or an unviable option or somewhere in the middle?
We can put it on the next work session or something like that, but we're, yeah, not
Yeah,
today.
because he happens to be.
Yep, okay, thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. Any other members of the public that are here? If not, we have a lot of hands up on the Zoom. Rick Davis, I see you first. Rick Davis on the Zoom is muted.
I have no comment. That was,
Okay.
yeah. We'll just stay
That's
there.
report, okay, sure. Holly Baldwin has a hand up.
Yes, I'm sorry. The first thing I'm doing, this is the first time I'm doing this.
Sure, please state your
I
name
have,
and your municipality.
I am Holly Baldwin. I live in Luzerne County.
Your municipality, the municipality you reside in.
Pittston City.
Thank you.
I have issues with WellPath. My daughter wound up in the county prison, and within 2 days she was dead. That's not acceptable. WellPath did not treat her, did not help her. I'm hearing a lot of cases on that, and I don't think they should continue to be there. I think that we should go another route. Also, I'm sorry, I get emotional. I just lost my daughter February 13th due to them not caring for her properly and doing what they needed to do. And there's a lot of people that were not cared for and are still not being cared for in the prison, even though they claim they're doing certain things. They're not. There's so many drugs out there now that are so high. their tolerance is so high. And when they go in there, they can't, 2 milligrams Subutex is not going to help these people, not to mention the fact that if they're given a Subutex and they're on methadone, they can die. There's a lot going on in this situation, and I do not feel WellPath is the way to go. I've never been involved in any of this, and I just recently started researching and doing everything I need to do. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel they need to be treated. They need to be treated like humans, and they're not at all. And it's not fair. It's not fair. My daughter should still be here, and she's not, due to her mistreatment and due to the situation. She has three beautiful babies, 2 which I am now caring for. I don't think they should be. It's been how many deaths in the prison are going to occur due to them not caring for them?
Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. I'm sorry for your loss, but thank you
Thank you.
for letting us know.
Thank you.
Mr. Rabo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank the council for the West Hazleton J.C. Drive funding. That was a very, I understand the circumstances with the ARP money, but it was the right choice, the right decision. And I want to thank the council for it. Also, I want to congratulate Ms. Crocomo, even though I don't agree with the choice that council made, I respect it. And furthermore, as to what Councilman Thornton said, and Councilman Lescavich said, as to answer what I said in previous public comment, I did not mean it as a slight against county council or those two councilmen. They are, and they know I respect them. And I say to them, and I will disagree with them privately and publicly when I think they're wrong. But I never made it as a slight to council about the process being politically expedient. I said about the manager search process. There's a difference. So just to make that clear, okay? And even though I respect Mr. Thornton and Mr. Lescavich, I profoundly disagree with them on their decision. That being said, I want to offer one solution, Madam Chair, because I like giving solutions. And as far as with the prison goes, with the roof and all the infrastructure, and also I would add the change valves to the prison that were paid for twice. I would ask the Madam Chair, if you could ask the Office of Law, the Chief Solicitor, if they could draw up a resolution that from this time forward, that any bids for any infrastructure construction be followed or be attached by a performance bond or a bid bond. I know because I served on authority boards and I served in I had a construction company for over 20 years. So I understand, and I believe Mr. Thornton and Mr. Lescavich can attest that most municipal governments, cities, counties, even the federal government requires a performance bond for infrastructure projects. So I think that needs to be done instead of just meandering around, saying, woe is me when infrastructure projects don't go that way. I said this when Manager Pedri was county manager, and I believe incoming manager Crocomo can attest to that too, that a performance bond should be made by any vendor that is doing any construction work for the county. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. Vivian?
Hello, it's Vivian Kreidler-Latina from Nescapic. First off, Ms. Kokomo, congratulations. And I hope to be able to work with you in the future at some point, even if we just sit and talk. But I want to address the election board, the election bureau. They are doing a good, fantastic job. And some of you may disagree with me with that, and that is fine. But you have to remember, they're new at this. I'm new at running for council. Everyone makes mistakes. And if you don't make a mistake, you're a computer. And even computers make a mistake because it takes a human to put in the information into the computer. So before we put our election bureau people down, let's give them a chance. They don't need to be threatened. They don't need to be told what to do. They are learning. Help them. Work with them, not against them. Okay. As far as paper ballots, everybody yelled, we wanted paper ballots. Now we got paper ballots and we're still not happy. It's a no-win situation. Okay. Not everybody's going to be happy. Get over it. The other issue is they're doing a great job and you've got to give them credit. There's no reason to walk in there and threaten them. Talk to them like humans because they are human beings. They have feelings just like all of us do. There's no reason to treat them with disrespect. None whatsoever. So all I'm saying is, and as far as the ballots go, it's not only election bureau's fault that those ballots weren't produced right. Us candidates had a problem too, because none of us brought it up. We all looked over that and we all said everything was okay. So it was everybody's problem, not just to blame the Bureau or the board or council people. It's all of us that are running for that position. We all looked it over, we all approved it and said everything was okay. Now we all want to cry, most of us want to cry, that our municipalities aren't on there. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter what municipality you're from if you're out there campaigning and doing your job. That's all I have to say. I just want to say the election board, the election bureau is doing a fine job. They are learning, and we all will continue to learn no matter what position we're in. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Any other members of the public?
Just want to say a couple words.
Sure.
No? Okay. Just want to congratulate Ms. Crocomo, even though we don't agree on a lot of policies and procedures and things that happened in the past. I'm always going to be that councilman that's always going to hold people's feet to the fire, especially management. You may love me or hate me. I mean, I'm kind of no in between type of person. I get that from my colleagues. I get that from the public, but there's an alternative view out there, you know, and sometimes, you know, other people see things differently. I see them way differently than most people. I haven't been around the county and coming from a father who's been in this county for many, many years. There's a lot of skeletons in this, underneath this dome. And you have to be able to uncover all these rocks, you know, not just a few here and there. And you know, some of us have the wisdom and the foresight to predict what's going to happen before it happens, or see things from a different perspective based on the rule of law, statutes. Just because those municipalities were not printed on the ballot doesn't make it right. You know, it's part of the law. It was an oversight. Yes, we as candidates could have brought it to their attention within reason if they would have allowed us a little bit more time. You know, when the envelope went out, there was a holiday on that Friday. There was no time to get it back into the county on time. Should there, you know, we would have caught that mistake. And most people don't even know the statutes or know that the law exists, with the exception of a few of us. So, you know, there are alternative views on a lot of things, and you know, this is a sort of a constitutional republic. We have a democracy here in the way we vote on things. You know, I lost today, which I can suck it up. I'll be willing to work with Ms. Crocomo if she's willing to work with me, but I'm always going to be tough on you guys, Brian, you know, Mr. Jones, Mr. Wilbur. You know, the expectation is that we pay you a lot of money, more than most of us make here. And that's my expectation. And I'm sure the public's expectation that when we ask you for something, that you need to bring it to us, and bring it to us in a timely manner, because a lot of times we have this gun to our head mentality, like Mr. Griffith always has to, you know, that's one of his famous phrases. And it's true. You know what's on your calendars. Don't bring it to us at the last minute. It's on your radar. You have a staff, you have financial people that work for you. We don't. We have you that work for us and the taxpayers and good residents of this county. And like I said, the expectation is that you should be the ones detailed oriented. Not, you know, Steve Urban is going to get you, or it's a gotcha moment. You know, you should know your 11 council people that are up here, know and anticipate the questions that we're going to ask. Some of us are tougher than others. Some are silent, sit there and just vote, you know, after they've assessed whatever they do ask questions behind the scenes. So do I. But I think, you know, we're all a different flavor up here. Congratulations, Ms. Crocomo. I look forward to working with you, Brian. Hopefully, you know, you'll continue on with the county. Thank you for stepping up as you always do. You know, you deserve a little bit better as well, and more recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Urban. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? The voting session is adjourned. It is 8:08. We'll start the work session at 8:15, and we will, council, as long as you guys are okay with it, the people who are presenting from the public, will move them up on the agenda. Oh, yeah, it's that. My other one was that too.
Mine's from 2006.
I
still have this one from 2006.
My candy wrappers.
Okay.
Maybe not. I'm kind of
8:18, calling the work session to order. We're going to do the pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Venus.
Present, sorry.
Mr. LaScavitch.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Perry.
Yep.
Mr. Thornton. Mr. Urban.
Here.
Mr. Wilovich.
Here.
Mr. Adel.
Here.
At 10:11.
Okay, I'd like to move number 9 to number 1. Do you have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed?
One
All right.
note would be limited time and budget information has already been forwarded to council. Just questions, you know where to send the email.
I'll say the same thing. It's 8:19. We started at 5. All right. We want to hear what you have to say. We just want to hear quickly. Number 9, discussion regarding 44 Airport. I believe the Scribolas are here to speak to it. I will say just a couple things. I know there is a binder. I've heard about this thick binder that you're carrying around.
Would you like to see it?
Not at the moment, but we will.
It's in the engineering's office. That's where this came from.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
My fault. I didn't announce that.
Do you mind reading it tonight?
No.
Light reading.
We will need a 1-pager submitted, most likely from the engineering department, just so we could submit it to the agenda in the packet online so the public can read it, but you could just give a little overview tonight. That would be great.
Greg Barr is from the engineering.
Okay.
So that's who we have this.
Okay.
It wasn't over at your airport facility?
This is the only one we have, yes.
That was over there?
This is ours. Well, it wasn't, it was at the hang, yeah. It was in the maintenance facility.
Okay.
That's
Thank
where it
you.
was.
Thank you.
We have.
All the projects.
Did you go over to take a tour?
Was there a section?
Did you call first?
No, I didn't. I didn't announce myself. That's my fault.
We had this discussion with some other people that, so we knew that somebody would be there to give you the.
Unfortunately, like I said, when I showed up. It was my fault.
If I was there, I would have known you, and I would have taken you out of there.
Yeah.
You were walking the other way, right?
All right. Well, I love the banter. It is. Let's could you give us an overview, please, of the project that you're
This has
looking
been an
for?
ongoing project for the last 20 years, 25 years to make the airport better. It's your gym. It's not ours. All we do is we manage it for you. It's Luzerne County's. It's there. We're making it grow. We have 2 flight schools that work out of there, 141 schools. We have our school, 91, which is people that are in the airline business, private. We're trying to make this airport bigger and better. We want to make it so more people use it. That means more money for the county, plus us. We have more people that we could hire and put into the industry as pilots, and that's what we're doing. But we need the infrastructure. We need this. This has all been engineered. Now we just need it to be put in place. We need the facilities to, the runways, taxiways, all the facility has to be brought up to code and at times. That's what this is all about.
But you have to ask what this is going to do for this county.
Yes.
And in the short term, probably not much, but in the long term, the bigger you have a general aviation airport, the more likely you are to attract more companies to come in. If you Google anything about a general aviation airport and what it does for the local economy, it does wonders, actually. For every dollar that you spend on this airport, you're probably going to get about $2 back, not just from the airport itself, but the whole surrounding community. It'll increase job opportunities. It'll have big business trying to get in there if you market it the right way. If you have an economic development department, if they could put that in there. We've talked to the Bureau of Aviation, has been down there. I mean, we're going back 20 years we've been working on this. And it's always been passed over. And just recently, people have started to notice this. But the Bureau of Aviation said this is such a wonderful gem that they are really losing out on not developing. And now's the opportunity. I mean, this money is never going to be here again to do what we need to do down there to make it, to get it up to spec, to make it better, to make it grow, to make this area grow. So, I mean, this is it. We have, I mean, everything's in here, but I think they were talking to the tune of $6.5 million. That was pre-pandemic. So everything that they put in there is probably not gonna be done, which is, I mean, fine, but you gotta start now. I mean, if you do it now, it's gonna pay off in the end.
Money that will go to this, that money will all go towards the project. The engineering is done. Everything has been worked up. It's ready to go. As soon as they get, the money is approved, we can put shovels in the ground and get started. There's no engineering. It's all done. So that money will all go towards the project.
Would you guys be able to work with, I think, I don't want to speak on behalf of council, but I think at least once every single council member has said, don't forget about the airport, don't forget about the airport. So it's on all of our minds. It's something we do want to do, but 6.5 million, which if that was pre-pandemic, it's probably a much larger figure.
Yes.
Now is in that even 6.5 million is a large percentage of the money we do have left.
Yes.
So is there a way, I don't know if you guys would do that, or if you could work with engineering, our engineering department, and come up with maybe like the top 3 priorities and what a cost looks like for that. This way we can at least know, hey, 2 of the 6 projects, you know, could possibly get done.
And then that's good, but those top 3 is more than the 6.5.
Okay.
That's the problem. We need the money to get the infrastructure done to complete the project. It really, there's no wiggle room, and that sounds bad, I know that, but it's true. If you try to skimp here and there, then the infrastructure's not there, it's gonna cost us more down the road. That 6.5, and now we'll go to 10.5, 12.5, it's just gonna keep growing. So now's the opportunity to do it before that growth comes into play.
Okay, Mr. Lozgavich.
So I think it's important that we get this done because we rent these hangars and I encourage everybody to go down and walk through those hangars. I personally wouldn't open one of those doors, because I'll get my head taken off. But I think we need it, and I said this before, we need to take care of our own projects first in this county, and this is one of them. And I think it's an important one. Plus, I was highly impressed with the school they run to train pilots, and there's a shortage. There's going to be follows it in the country. But the other thing too is when we could sit here and give $8 million to the WVSA, but not 6.5 for our own house, what are we doing? Not good. And then first to raise taxes because there's issues down there, or another major lawsuit because somebody gets their head taken off by hangar guard. Then we have further problems. I think it's imperative that we find this money and we get this project done.
Yeah, did engineering submit a project to us?
What was that, sorry?
And our engineering department did, when we did internal projects, was that? Yeah, that's something we should address too. And that is not directed at you guys. But we opened up internal project applications to the county and we received nothing about the airport from engineering. And that's not on any council members or you guys. It's just something that, you know, in hindsight should have been done.
We will.
For sure. Thank you. We appreciate it. Council members, any questions on this? We just need to work on getting some information that condensed so that we can have it in our packet and reviewed, and we could put it on the next voting session. That's fine, but we need something to review ahead of time.
Good question. Should we have Ms. Booth look at it to make sure it's eligible for our?
Mr. Sweats?
We should have someone look at it. I understand why you tabled it. I get the legal opinion behind that. But we should really resolve that sooner rather than later, regardless of who we're going to use. 2 weeks is a long time for that.
Okay. Good. We're in a pickle. That's good. Per usual. All right. Thank you guys. We're okay on your end for now. We appreciate you coming. Is there anything else?
Anybody wants to come down and take a tour, Mr. McGinley, just give a call and I will personally do it. I know, but I'm just saying, if you do, please call. And even if you don't, just take a walk.
And I encourage everybody on council, if you haven't seen it, go see it because I didn't realize what was there. It was kind of surprising.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for hanging out for a few hours.
Thank you.
Cookies.
Yeah, we provided snacks.
Mr. Fleming is here from LCTA.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll go a little bit out of order. let's see. We'll do the local match. Council, are you okay with that? I'm moving around. So 7.
Good evening, council members. Bob Fume, Executive Director, LCTA. Thank you for supporting us. Local match for the operating. This is a request for $65,000 in local match. And this is a capital for capital. I don't believe LCTA has requested this in years, several years back. They were given money by the council or that time, might even be the commissioner, I don't know. But
It wasn't council.
yeah. So right now it's a request for $65,000, which should take us through at least 2 years. And it's going towards a match for federal and state grants of purchase capital equipment such as bus shelters, IT equipment, ticketing, kiosks, some buses we have ordered, shop equipment, and a service vehicle. So that's what's planned for the next 2 years. Some are on books now and in the future for the next 2 years. So the $65,000 will suffice as local match towards the federal and state grants in order to buy and purchase this capital equipment projects.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Perry?
And how much you're getting in return from the state, you know?
Well, yeah, we do have, so it depends on the buses. I mean, one of our buses costs us like $550,000 alone. So we have $20,000 in some equipment, which is already obligated, which is some equipment for tools, et cetera. 20,000 for solar. So it's time out. So basically, if you look at it, depending on which kind of grant you get, federal, state, which grant it comes from, you either have to match with anywhere from 1% to 3% local match on the project.
3%, 7%.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we'll go back in order. So number 1, receive and discuss budget division reports. Are we okay with Mr. Swets, Mr. Majakis? Are we okay? Just we all got those. Just maybe forwarding any questions.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Number 2, discussion regarding resolution to renew the lease. Well, we'll group 2 and 3 together. So there are leases for the magistrates for Kingston and Wright Township. Mr. Swets, do you want to talk to it? or-
Paul Heinmarsh might be on the Zoom
I was just looking for him and I couldn't find him.
because he said he was going to be on.
Yeah, I that's why I was looking and he's not on. Mr. Heinmark? No, there's no, I mean, unless he's under a different name.
Well, I could only speak to the little bit I know from talking to them because I got there. I was requested to draft resolutions for them. Kingston Township expired December 31st of 22. Wright Township, that was a 2005 lease that expired and we continued to go month to month. So because of that, the rent hasn't gone up in Wright Township since at least 2005. Kingston Township submitted a letter with increases.
Oh, Paul jumped on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, they submitted a letter with increases, citing the increase of utilities. So basically, the information I have is whatever's in your packet. but
Okay,
maybe Paul-
Mr. Heinmarsh, did you want to speak to those 2 leases quickly?
Yes.
Oh, we can't hear you.
They submitted a letter with increases.
Mr. Heinmark? He's muted. Mr. Heinmark?
Hello, Madam
No.
Chair.
There we go. We got you.
I'm here now. Thank you. You can't?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you now.
Okay,
If you
great.
could speak to, just speak to the Kingston Township and the Wright Township leases briefly, please.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Craig. We appreciate the help and the efforts of the Office of Law, and thank you for turning these around so quickly. The courts are happy in both locations. They are well suited to the needs for the district magisterial offices. We believe, and it is certainly up to council, that the increases requested are warranted and the extensions should be moved forward. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding both of the leases. Kingston Township, I believe, is a 3-year extension.
Just a quick question on year 3 on the Kingston Township, that jumps up by like $1,000 from between 24 and 25. Is that correct?
Sorry, in clicking, Councilman Urban, I lost my copy online here, so I'm trying to get back to it. But I believe you're correct.
It goes from 2637.91 to 3690.67.
Steve, you're talking.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that the Shaver Town one?
Yeah, it's this, actually, I think
It just goes to 26.9.
but Steve's looking at the next one. I see.
Wright Township.
I'm looking at
I
the,
think it's Wright Township.
That's because they did an increase.
looking at page 28.
Courts don't report to.
No, so I guess they were looking, you know, and if I
Courts
had
need our approval to
poppins
have a
because
lease.
that connectivity problems. Apparently they were, looking for it to be retroactive back to January 1. So there was something where it was like initially at $1,500 a month and then up to $2,500.
I'm looking at Article 4. It's a big
Yeah.
jump there.
Their last contract expired in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's why I think he increased.
But they went from 2,500 to in 24 to 2,600, and then from 24 and 25 they go right to 3,690. So another.
Well, they
1,000.
started off slow. They were trying to soften the blow.
I was only looking at
Oh,
about
this
a
Kingston
hundred,
one,
yeah,
yeah.
like
I
about
see it.
$150 a month versus 1,000.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Can
That's what the court.
we just double check that number?
Yeah.
But in the resolution, it
Well-
says 26.90 a month in the resolution.
In the resolution it
But
says
in
that, but in the
lease
lease.
agreement, it says 36.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe they,
One of them is a
So
typo.
I looked, because they provided the, well,
If you execute
The
the
numbers
numbers, that's
off.
gonna be the legal document.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right,
It doesn't seem
It's
right.
just the work session. We will get it corrected. Mr. Heinmarsh, if you could work with the Office of Law, please, we'll just make sure that's clarified and sent out to council. Hopefully, maybe by the end of next week, ahead of the next
It's
meeting.
probably the 20. It's probably the.
Yeah.
It would make more sense,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
But
But the lease.
I believe the resolution is
Yeah,
correct.
so, yeah.
Okay, we'll just have to get it corrected in the lease. Yeah, so this way it's reflected correctly. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, we'll move on. Number 4, discussion regarding resolution approving an amendment to an agreement with Luzerne County Flood Protection Authority for the operation, maintenance, repair, replacement, and rehabilitation of the William Valley levee system. Mr. Baumann.
Yes, thank you for
Mr. Unity.
opportunity of being on the work session agenda tonight. Yeah, I'm Chris Bellman. I serve as executive director of the authority. With me tonight is Dominic Unity, who serves as our chairman. Just allow me to provide some brief background of what we're requesting. For the past 25 years, we have used an existing garage, which is located on Cameron Way in 44, to conduct our levee maintenance operations. After 25 years, we need to expand that building to better fulfill our public safety mission. But to do that, the building is located on county-owned land. So we're here tonight to request permission of council if they would support our building expansion and the use of county land. We'll pay all, as part of the project, we'll pay all the engineering costs, the permitting, the construction, and when built, of course, we'll pay all the ongoing maintenance costs, the utility costs, which we're doing right now with the existing building. And that brief background. Are there any questions?
On the question, so it's basically just asking to use the land, there's no funds, it's just.
No,
land.
there's no funds at all. We're just requesting to use the land.
I just have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure what type of building you're gonna build, but just check with the airport, of course, with, you know, maybe something being away if it were too tall. Like in proximity, I don't know how far back you're going.
I mean, we've already had that discussion with
Okay.
the engineer's office and, you know, there won't be any conflict.
Okay.
Before we proceed, we'll have that conversation again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Are
Mr.
paying any rent? The land?
We haven't paid any rent in 25 years.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Thank you, Mr. Bellman. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Bellman and Mr. Unusi for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
If we find any questions, we'll send them in your direction.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion regarding ordinance amending the 2023 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County 911. Mr. Rosencrantz.
Thank you. Just an ordinance requesting council approve a budget amendment for us. This is a leftover invoice from 2022 with the audit. We worked with the Budget and Finance Office, and to do it properly, we must do a budget amendment to give us access to the expenditure authority to pay the final invoice due for final system acceptance of the P25 Motorola digital radio project. We anticipated that all of the punch list items would be completed by the February 14th purchase order deadline, but that has since passed. And with the additional funding that we received for the American Rescue Plan Act funds of the 1.3 million and for the GPS on push to talk, we're now looking at a target date of final system acceptance of on or about August 1st. So it was budgeted. We just didn't carry it over from 2023, assuming that it would be done in fiscal year 2022.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Rosencrantz?
Question for budget and finance. We had a 22 budget. We had the money in there, and now we're going to a 23 budget. What happened to the money in 22?
As far as the budget goes?
As far as the money goes.
Mr. Majikis, if you could just come up just near us so we could pick, so it's picked up on the microphones.
As far as it's general fund.
It's the loan borrowing, and I think I could answer that. It was encumbered under the purchase order. The funding was not used, so it was closed. So that's why the bank balance is there of the 652,000, but I don't have a budget to access it, pay the 2023 bill that's due. So the PO was encumbered for 1.4 million. 652,000 of that is remaining through Motorola on the final system acceptance. So simply stated, the funding is there. It's in the bank. I just need a budget code to have access to the funding authority.
Guess from the opposite law now, that money was sitting there. The gross expenses indicated. We have to make a budget amendment for 22 budget now.
Well, I guess it was reflected on the 2022 budget, but not on the 23.
Correct.
Is that
That's why I'm
so?
requesting to increase the revenue line item to match the expense line item to properly do it as per. the
Yeah,
chart.
so it was there in 2022. It didn't get used by the end of the year.
Correct.
So now we just, in order to properly have it reflected on the books, add it to the 2023 at the revenue, and then when you pay the bill, then it goes out on the expense line.
I believe that's what the charter says we have to do for budget.
Yeah.
I think you're right, but the problem that I see is that money,
It was in the 2022 budget.
yeah, it's in the 2022 budget. We're doing the 2022 audit right now. It's due in the end of June. Is that going to show up as a surplus?
So it should, because it's in there as revenue,
I
and
hope
then it's not
everybody recognizes
expensed,
that.
it's not expensed
You know, we
out,
come in with
so.
half a
In
million
the-
surplus,
Unencumbered.
but we have 690 or something.
Yeah, so there should just be a caveat, you know, it's
Yep.
not in a general surplus, it was already encumbered, it didn't get expended, so it's a carryover and reflected on this year's budget, so that this year's books.
And the auditors required the
Balance.
purchase order to be closed for the audit. That's why we're doing this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rosencrantz and Mr. Majikis.
Thank you.
We'll move on. The discussion regarding district attorney memo regarding opioid settlement funding. I believe Attorney Sangradol is on.
I'm here.
Thank you. Do you want to just speak to that briefly?
Sure. As everybody knows, at least everybody on council hopefully knows, we've been meeting with some regularity on how to move these funds forward and put them to good use. We've compared what's been going on in other counties. We decided to put basically the same people in positions in other counties that were moving it forward. So we drafted a joint proposal. I just happen to be the one to send it in, to have a number of participants, including a member of county council, on a committee to try to assess the best way to move forward and try to get, make a proposal to council. But I thought the best way to do it was have a committee get together and then bring something to council rather than have lengthy debates at council meetings. So I think my memo kind of speaks for itself. And I was interested to hear any feedback that you guys think, or else if you guys approve it, we're happy to move forward as is.
Thank you. Council members, any questions?
I think maybe 3 council members versus just one, because it's a large body here.
Okay.
I would say up to 3.
Up to 3.
That way you
Probably
have-
keeping it odd, right?
Yeah.
Up to 3. Okay. Thank you, District Attorney Sangre. Okay, we already spoke about 7. Number 8, discussion regarding ordinance placing a question on the November 7th, 2023 general election ballot to amend Article Section 804 of the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter.
Okay, I propose this amendment to the charter to be added on to this November 7th election. As we all know right now, the Board of Elections is composed of 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 member who's appointed by those 4 members. And that term is 4 years for that member. So my proposal is to reconstitute the Board of Elections. We'd have 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, which again, we'd have to start over. So we'd have one be a 2-year term and a 4-year term to create the staggered terms as they are now. But the caveat is we would appoint the 5th member to a 2-year term. So that way, every 2 years, there would be a new member or a reappointment, if so desired by council. And all 5 members would be appointed by this council. So there would be no going outside of council to appoint the 5th member. The board would not be selecting that. The other part is there would be new leadership every 2 years. So every 2 years, the 5 members that are on the board, after the appointments are made, would pick their chairperson, vice chairperson, so forward as they see fit. So in this, I would say that the people as a whole would have more power as the voters to pick their Board of Elections, because it would not be dependent on the 4 members currently sitting on the board to pick that 5th member. I don't think people have a true voice in that, because we are at the point now where the 4 people on the board pick that 5th member. I think we would have more say as a council. The voters would have more say if we pick all 5 board members. And those 5 would pick the chair and vice chair every 2 years. Do you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Or if this were passed.
Yes.
Vacated. Come
The whole
January,
board would
then.
be vacated, would start fresh with 5 new appointments. And I think clearly with the office of law, the term limits and everything else falls in line with the charter and legal requirements, yeah?
Yes, I mean, and if this is an amendment to the charter, then this would be, well, what it is.
Yes, if the ordinance passes, it will become law.
Right, and to the extent that any other code, such as the administrative code, is in conflict with it, it would require the administrative code to be amended to fall in line with the charter, because the charter trumps the admin code.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your work on this.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I
Yeah,
want to say thank you very much, Greg, for your work on this. I think it's a great amendment. Really gives the voters a lot more power in the election board. We've been having obviously some problems there. And it gives council a little bit more say in how things go. I think it's going to really positively affect the elections in Luzerne County. So great job.
Yeah, I mean, and Greg too, I mean, it makes sense, whereas whereas the chair was 4 years, I mean, you never see that. I mean, you don't see that with this body, with anybody. I mean, this council potentially could have new leadership every 2 years when you reorganize, so.
And again, as councils change, I mean, if the new council becomes Democratic and they want a Democratic board member, they could do that. Or so, I mean, it's the same thing with third parties. And I know Steve always brought up the issue of age discrimination. I did take that out because in section B says, council shall have been a member of the same registration continuously for at least 3 years or since initial registration. So if you became a new voter yesterday, you would qualify to be on the board of voters. Just as long as you don't change your party within 2 days.
Thank you. All right, discussion regarding Water Street Bridge.
Feel like this is the elevator. So I'm a little nervous because we met with PennDOT. And the question was asked about the funding. That's not secure for the Water Street Bridge. And what I'm worried about is at any given point, the state does not get that money, that Water Street Bridge is off the pay. That's how simple that is. So I think that if we don't hear something or get a commitment in the next few months, at best, shovel ready will be like 27. We take the LSA money, we build our bridge, and hopefully whatever's left over, we can address the Nanticoke Bridge at that time. Because right now they have a 15-ton weight limit, we have 0. Because before we get boxed out and we have no bridge there and the money doesn't come to fruition, we all know what's gonna happen.
Is the money that is supposed to come to the state, is that the federal infrastructure money? Okay, maybe we should start getting in touch with our federal.
Yeah, because
legislators.
it clearly states there that if, how they word it is they redirect the funds.
Right. Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, well, council, call
So I'm
your,
just putting
call
it
your
out there.
friends. We need to make sure the funds don't get
I'm
redirected.
sick of being stuck in traffic every day there.
Yeah, and that, I mean, even the best option is to make sure we get the funds, because pulling from one bridge to fix another is just,
But in the worst case scenario, if we don't get a promise on them funds, those funds are spent and that bridge is still open, we have one closed, at least we have a bridge replaced. And talking with Brian, we would probably have that done at the end of 25, because it's LSA money, and you wouldn't have to jump through the same circles with the federal money as far as to look at the bridge, the river, and doing all the other things that are gonna take 2 years.
Mr. Rosenkrantz, just something.
I just have a comment on that. When I was interim division head, council passed a resolution and there's an agreement with PennDOT that they committed to it. So are they backing out now?
They're not backing out. If you read that, it states that they're in as long as the money comes from the federal government. If not, they're out.
Yeah, because there were discussions
That's a
about
big if,
using
though.
LSA funding ahead of time as basically a loan or pre-funding it and then getting the reimbursement as well, if and when they got the funding. So
yeah,
that I was just confused that I knew that I dealt with that specifically as the interim division head with Ms. Crocomo.
And when we asked the
At the
question
time.
at the meeting,
In January of 2022.
they made me nervous when we asked,
Thank you.
you know, what about the funding? Well, it's not secure.
Yeah,
And this has been going on.
they
you
never
know,
mentioned that during the contract signing.
Of course not.
It was committed. You know? So,
I think May coming up will be, what, a year since we're at the school for that meeting.
yeah.
And here we are at the same point in time.
And they were supposed to take over all future maintenance of the bridge from the county in that agreement as well. So to get us off the hook for it. So that's, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Call your legislators.
Yep.
Okay, that concludes the agenda. We have public comment. Mr. Knapp?
Yeah. To Councilman Liskevich mentioning about the firemen's Memorial Bridge. I'm 100% in agreement with giving, taking. 2 years and a half ago approximately, I did suggest to council over phone that in order to get more life out of the West Nanticoke Bridge, it would be a bad idea to make it a one-way out of town. This way we get more life out of the West Nanticoke Bridge, and Nanticoke Fire can respond to tending to the fire emergencies that happen in Plymouth Township. That's something I suggested 2.5 years ago.
if they had started, or if we moved towards that, maybe we wouldn't have to be reduced and get more life out of that bridge. Of course, we have 29 right up lane. So that making available fund with the LSA money, that makes a reasonable, sensible idea we were suggesting. Mr. Lewis-Kevich. Now, as far as the issue that I brought up earlier, I have all the documents to back up what I stated. You have to, I'm not making excuses for my actions earlier. I was in the military, served in the military. When departments made repeated and mistakes, people were brought in court-martialed. In a lot of instances, they were yelled at and they lost stripes. That means they would lose revenue out of their pocket. They would lose their paychecks. Their paychecks will be reduced. So what we have here is we have the acting or the manager who received $64,500 in the Bureau of Elections. That's a fine pay. Your stipend is $8,000, the chair $10,500. That, you know, you should be taking the heat for the Bureau of Election. The manager, hopefully she'll review this. And I'm just bringing this to the attention of everybody that we want a election process integratively proceeded through. It's very, very distraughting to me that they can make this simple of an error with a very important document such as this, which you cannot make copies of. Okay, this is something you can't make copies. It's a legal document, and they attached a Democratic voter to my name. And if I didn't bring this to their attention or to your attention or to the matters attention, they could have turned around and used this against me. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Knapp, did you actually bring this to the attention of the Election Bureau?
To be honest with you, I'm not here to do their job. She makes $64,000 a year.
Mr. Knapp.
Yes.
You didn't bring this to the attention of the Election Bureau, which is the person who made the mistake. You could have easily just done that instead of coming to a council meeting.
Mr. Lombardo, as I stated to you, these people are making $64,000 a year. There shouldn't be errors like this
And
happening.
they're responsible for fixing the mistakes.
How about the missing paper? How about the missing paper?
I'm just saying, you didn't bring it to them. You should have brought it to them first, not to us.
Absolutely not, sir. I think that they
Absolutely,
have
yes.
a responsibility to do their job properly, and a lot of people, the voters out there, will show you
Okay,
their
thank you.
dissatisfaction.
Yeah, okay. Any other members of the public?
Yeah, but I'll be nice and quick.
Heard that promise before.
She's always quick, and she knows she's standing between us and a snack.
Because I prepare. I like probably read more than you guys read. It's crazy. But Elizabeth Hartman, Hanover Township, just concerning the flood authority and the airport in 44. I grew up in 44, and I think I testified or spoke on this. When they were here last time looking for money to do something, I don't remember what it was, maybe to make that book that he had in his hand tonight. I think we gave them money to pay for that. So I had questioned when he asked for money for that. The planes going across out of the 44 airport right now are rocking families' houses in 44. And this plan, from what I'm understanding, they're going to be bringing in very large planes. Like, we're not talking the little planes when we were kids. They're talking about expanding that runway and having, like, we're worried about mines. We're worried about floods. Now we're going to have like these humongous airplanes. Like, this is all mine land underneath there. Eventually, something's going to break. The river's going to break. Something's going to break with all this. What does it take for a jet to take off? Or what they're proposing to bring into that airport. I think we should have a meeting with the residents of 44 and surrounding areas that planes would pass their homes so they can be heard before that's fully done. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Miscavige, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to, it's not the idea that it's going to be much larger planes. A lot of it has to do with the hangars. They're required to put in some turnaround space for the runways. Because right now they use the grass, and I think that's a big no-no with the FAA. So there's things that they're starting to tighten up that are not allowed anymore. I think, and then the roof project down there. the roof I didn't want to say the word roof, but that project's like the one over at the prison. They go down, they put a Band-Aid on it, $100,000. And by the time they finish, it'll be 12 years and you're starting over again. So they're just trying to get everything situated, so the dry building, everything's done all at one time. That's the majority of what they're looking to do.
Yeah, I just think they should have a good revenue source from more things coming in, more things being able to turn around. People renting better hangars, renting better, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
so I just think we need.
I agree with you. Once we make the investment, we can look at all of that, you know, for the hangers and all.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Charlie Griffin?
On the airport issue, as long as we're there, I won't get too far astray on that. We did an audit of the airport, the 44 airport. The issue was the advisory board, of course, brought that up. Hopefully that'll get off the ground, get busy. The other issue that I have in the contract is we need to get more revenue. The county's always looking for revenue. And I'm not saying we should get, we should put fees against them that's going to inhibit their operation. But they've been working out of there for quite a few years, since 2010, I believe. And there hasn't been a rent increase. They haven't given us any additional money on fuel. That's all in my audit finding. So I think council needs to look at that as a revenue stream for us. I mean, within reason from the FBO, if he can afford it, we should go after that revenue. We're always looking for revenue. And that's a perfect place to try and find it. I know my predecessor, Michelle, did an audit of that back in 2018. And the audit that I did was the same finding that was in there as well. So just take a look at those audits and just see what's needs attention, and possibly council can address those where we can get some more revenue. I certainly don't want to inhibit the growth, but certainly look for revenue where we can. Don't miss the opportunity. Mr. McGinley said, if you're going to build a building over there, flood protection, and pay us rent. I mean, it's not being cruel. It's just a reality. We need to find different venues. The issue of the contract for the magistrates, that was another one of my audits that we just did last year, that the contracts were woefully expired. So thankfully, we're making baby steps, and I appreciate council taking the steps to get those contracts straightened out. As I said to Chris at break, small step for man, giant step for mankind in the council, because these contracts are expired 15 years. So kudos to council to address that. When the Office of Law looks at that, please look at the date on the contract on page 1. They have a misstatement on the contract, says January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. It should say 27. So take a look at that if you would. And lastly, the issue on the ordinance for the county election board. The Department of Office of Law needs to look at that ordinance because it will be challenged because it's not complete. You cannot put everything in the ordinance as it's stated and then just put the disclaimer that we're going to amend the charter at Article 804. You have to put each individual section that you're changing as plain English. You can't do a carte blanche and say, well, we're going 804 A through F, and we're changing A through F. You have to be specific, because if you don't, it will be challenged. Because the ordinance clearly says we're only changing it from 5 registered voters to 2. It doesn't say anything about getting rid of the 5-year clause. It doesn't say anything about they're being appointed every 2 years in the broad clause. So if Office of Law can look at that, call the DCED, very well versed on this stuff, because we've done it at nauseam over the past.
I'd like to respond to that.
Go ahead.
Actually, I used your ordinance as reference.
You didn't use this, you didn't use my ordinance.
Yes, it was.
No, it's not.
The one that you were
It's
trying
not
to
my
put
ordinance.
members of council.
I have my ordinance, Greg, that's not my ordinance. Because I never changed the ordinance to say it was gonna be, get rid of the 5 years. I had an ordinance that said 7 members.
All
So
right,
don't sit there and say it was mine, because it was not.
thank you.
I know what I wrote.
Thank you.
You wanna challenge it, have your facts.
That'll be all. And the other members of the public, hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, opposed, meeting adjourned. Have a good night.
That's not my ordinance. My ordinance is separate. Mine said 7 members, not 5. That's not my ordinance. My ordinance is 7 members, so that's not my ordinance.
Yeah.
You're saying you use my ordinance.
I use your ordinance. I use it to reference.